heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
accountability, honesty, rebuild trust,
dignity, decency, compassion.
Downing Street misled the public about Starmer working with a man who falsely claimed British troops had tortured and murdered people. And
Zach Polanski has transformed the Green Party. Since being elected leader,
the Greens want to give every illegal migrant a house and a taxpayer-funded wage. Even this guy. Yes, that was a knife. Also tonight,
If a boy wants to wear dresses, we should just, if we allow that to work, children will experiment at different points. They will consider who they are.
Nope. Labour's Education Secretary thinks boys should be able to wear dresses. And huge numbers of illegals crossed the Channel today as the French failed to stop more than 2/3 of the boats. And Harry and Meghan met Gazans in Jordan today. On my panel tonight, we've got the director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist Nina Mishkov. And President Trump exposed that left-wingers don't really care about their country.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
How many on the left do you think stood up there? And what happens next here? Oh, I'll reveal all shortly. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Downing Street misled us to save Starmer's skin. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. More from Patrick shortly. First, though, the headlines at 9. The Metropolitan Police have apologised to the Speaker of the House of Commons after inadvertently revealing he was the source of information that led to Lord Peter Mandelson's arrest. Sir Lindsay Hoyle confirmed to MPs today he passed information to officers, saying he acted in good faith after receiving concerns the former minister could be about to leave the country.
To prevent any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media.
Lord Mandelson was arrested on Monday on suspicion of misconduct in public office and later released on bail until May. His lawyers have called the suggestion he planned to leave the UK baseless, and he denies wrongdoing. Meanwhile, the police say it would be inappropriate to provide further detail while their investigation continues. In other news tonight, almost 600 migrants crossed the English Channel today, marking the biggest one-day surge so far this year. Provisional figures show 590 people were brought into Ramsgate by Border Force and lifeboat crews, with the final group arriving at around 4:30 this afternoon. And with calm weather expected to continue, patrols remain on standby for further crossings throughout this evening. The BBC Director General has ordered a fast-tracked investigation after a racial slur was broadcast during Sunday's BAFTA coverage, calling it a serious mistake. Campaigner John Davidson, whose Tourette syndrome caused him to shout out during the ceremony, says the broadcaster should have worked harder to prevent his tics being heard, adding that he expected sound would be controlled. The BBC has since apologised and removed the language from iPlayer, while BAFTA says it takes full responsibility after the incident. Davidson says that his words were an involuntary neurological misfire and not a reflection of his beliefs. The government insists there is no pause to its Chagos Islands deal, despite a minister telling MPs today the legislation was being paused during talks with the United States. Foreign Office Minister Hamish Falconer said that the process was on hold while discussions take place. That after Donald Trump had urged Sir Keir Starmer to scrap the agreement. The deal would see the UK hand sovereignty to Mauritius while leasing back the Diego Garcia military base at an average cost of £101 million each and every year. Ministers say the UK's position, though, has not changed, with timings still set to be announced, they say, in the usual way, as the bill continues its passage through Parliament. And in Manchester, counter-terror police are now assisting the Greater Manchester Force after a man allegedly entered the central mosque in the city carrying weapons, including an axe, during Ramadan prayers. A suspect in his 40s has been arrested on suspicion of possessing an offensive weapon and drugs and remains in custody. Officers are still searching for a second man and say they're keeping an open mind about the motive for the incident. Sir Keir Starmer has also expressed his concern after the incident took place in Victoria Park area at around 8:40 last night. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup with the news at 10. Now, though, it's back to Patrick.
Good evening. We start with a very serious story. Downing Street misled Parliament and, in my opinion, they misled GBNews in an attempt to save the Prime Minister's skin. And tonight, Downing Street stands accused of lying to us to save their Prime Minister. In January, Sir Keir Starmer was revealed to have worked for free as a lawyer that led to countless British war heroes being prosecuted for crimes that they did not commit. Both he and Lord Hermer are accused of working on a case which led to a witch hunt against the brave men and women who served this country in the heat of battle. The detail, published in the Daily Telegraph, is that Starmer and Hermer urged the courts to order a fresh inquiry into a British soldier who had already been cleared twice of murder over the death of an Iraqi man in 2003. He was actually entirely innocent, and it took him 13 years to clear his name. But what this did was set a legal precedent that opened the door for countless British soldiers to be prosecuted over their conduct during the Iraq War. The Daily Telegraph also revealed that Starmer worked alongside disgraced lawyer Phil Shiner in a separate case to help prosecute our brave veterans between 2005 and 2007. Now, you might remember the name Phil Shiner because in 2017, Phil Shiner was struck off and given a 2-year suspended prison sentence for lying about British troops murdering and torturing Iraqi civilians in other cases. The Prime Minister says he did not continue his association with him after he was convicted for fraud. This was obviously a huge scandal. It meant that the man who is now our Prime Minister didn't just work for free on a case that led to British war veterans being prosecuted, but also worked with a man who falsely accused British troops of war crimes on a different case, even if he didn't know this at the time. Now, that's as bad as it gets. The vast majority of the British public would think that anyone who has done that should never be Prime Minister. It also completely destroyed Keir Starmer's excuse for representing the catalogue of awful Britain-hating terrorists that he represented as a lawyer. Records show that he's represented loads of Islamist terrorists, including Abu Qatada, Osama bin Laden's right-hand man. He's also represented members of the IRA. He could always claim that it was the cab rank rule, that he was just doing his job, but not when it came to prosecuting British troops, because he helped with that for free on at least one of the cases that he was involved with. He chose to do that. This scandal came at the same time that Starmer was facing several other huge scandals. It was back in January when this original story broke, and that's important because he was already the most unpopular Prime Minister in British history. The Peter Mandelson story was blowing up again. It was the same time, you might remember, that Starmer faced the leadership challenge from Andy Burnham. They had just U-turned on digital ID and some of Rachel Reed's economic policies, and he had just approved the Chinese super embassy, despite revelations that it could be used as a massive spy base right in the heart of London. In fact, When the Daily Telegraph story broke, Starmer was literally about to get on a plane to China. The story about him working to help prosecute British veterans could have finished him off. So what did Downing Street do? Well, it looks like they misled us to make it go away. As I was reporting the story, Downing Street called our newsroom and spoke to my producer, and they gave us the distinct impression that Starmer had never, ever worked with the disgraced lawyer Phil Shiner. And I had to make this clarification on air. The Minister worked free of charge alongside his close ally Lord Hermer, who is currently the Attorney General, and the now disgraced solicitor Phil Shiner. By the way, I'm at pains to stress that Downing Street are claiming that they never actually worked with or alongside or anything this guy Phil Shiner. He is also not here to defend himself. That's what they said. Starmer then sent his Veterans Minister to Parliament to repeat the same claim.
I would just gently remind him that the Prime Minister did not work with that individual or with any organisation, and his role was limited. His role was limited to working with the Law Society on points of law. He actually has a record of representing people who were wrongfully accused or killed on operations.
And then it turned out, shock horror, that she was misleading Parliament. Starmer did work with Phil Shiner. Court documents prove that he'd worked on cases to prosecute troops, and he'd even written a chapter in a book edited by Phil Shiner calling for a mandatory investigation into Iraq war veterans. Yesterday, the Veterans Minister that you just saw there had to come back to Parliament to apologise for misleading Parliament.
I would like to correct the record in relation to something I said during the last defence orals. On the 2nd of February 2026, I said the Prime Minister did not work with any of Phil Shiner's organisations, and his role was limited to working with the Law Society on points of law. However, since then, it has been brought to my attention that in 2006, the Prime Minister was instructed to represent an individual by the law firm for which Mr Shiner was the principal solicitor. So I would like to take this earliest opportunity to apologise to the House and correct the record.
So, where did the misleading information to both us here at GB News and Parliament come from? Well, I put it to you that the only person in the world with a precise, intimate knowledge of who Starmer did and didn't work with is Sir Keir Starmer himself. Did the order to mislead us and Parliament come directly from him? And it's not the first time that this Labour government has misled us in a big way. Do you remember when this happened?
To arrange an hotel for us. You were told her.
That's a clip there of when the historic Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf just mysteriously closed its doors one day. And we thought it was going to become one of the country's largest migrant hotels. So we went to the Home Office and they point-blank told us that it would not be used as a migrant hotel. And then a few days later, this happened. It turned into a migrant hotel. That was also misleading from them, wasn't it, to say the least? In my view, Starmer should be disqualified from public office because of the terrible work he did in the legal profession. But what's worse is that Downing Street is misleading us about Starmer's legal past in an attempt to avoid a massive scandal. They were hoping it would go away, I think. Today, Downing Street did admit to us that they should have been clearer. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Look, that snivelling North London human rights lawyer isn't fit to lace the boots of our brave veterans. He should apologise to them and then he should resign. Let's get thoughts from my panel this evening. We've got Director of Public Services Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Look, Mark, I think this is incredibly serious, and I think it points to an attempt at deception in order to make a story go away when the Prime Minister was right under the cosh.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it was interesting that you showed those clips of the Veterans Minister, Louise Sander-Jones, I think her name is. Why did she incorrectly mislead the House on the first occasion, right? There's no particular reason to believe that she's got stored in her memory Keir Starmer's entire legal career, so she must have received a briefing, given that she was so adamant about the facts here, and it is now completely unravelled. It is yet another example of the government being economical with the actuality. They are trying to limit the information that comes out. Now, by far their best route, whatever, Patrick, you might think of his previous legal actions, is you've got to take that on the chin and come out and explain what you did. And he would be far better off to say, I did work with this guy Shiner. I didn't realise that he was a complete crook. I believe the evidence he put in front of me. And as soon as he was convicted and struck off, I made sure I had no further contact with him. But instead, it's an attempt to deceive TV stations, to deceive Parliament and get caught red-handed yet again. And you showed right at the top of the show, this was a government that was elected on its principal proposition being restoring public trust in politics. That is in ashes.
Yeah, and like I said, it's by no means the only time that they've misled us. I mean, the most direct one was about that migrant hotel. And yeah, we are in a situation now, I think, where we are not dissimilar to the wider British public, Adam, where I don't think you can trust a word that comes out of Downing Street.
I can't stand the man, and this government is the most dishonest government of my lifetime. I believe Keir Starmer and his left-wing lawyer mates are anti-British Marxists. This is the man that even today was caught lying about energy bills being lower under Labour. They're higher. Again, he's misled the House. This is a man that lied about knowing the close relationship between Epstein and Mandelson. This is the man that lied about putting taxes up for working people. He does not stop lying. This is the man that failed to declare thousands in freebies from Lord Alley. How can we believe a single word this man says? And then when something gets very uncomfortable, when there's a situation which could explode, it never come across his desk. That's his way out. He will not answer straight questions, Patrick.
Yeah, and look, Nina, the bit about this, what I would argue where they're bang to rights about misleading us deliberately so, and indeed the House of Commons, is because they misled the House of Commons. There was no reason why, if you're briefing a Veterans Minister, she's wandered in there and said, Sir Keir Starmer, at the time when the story was emerging, that it looked as though he'd worked free of charge on one case to help with a case that led to the prosecution of countless British veterans for crimes they did not commit in the Iraq War. That is an abomination for anyone who's ever done that to end up in Downing Street. But then the follow-up story to that, obviously, was that, he's worked with Phil Shiner. For them to come, who, by the way, lied about British troops murdering and torturing Iraqi civilians. I mean, good grief. And then for them to come out and the Veterans Minister go, no, he's never worked with them. Where's that come from, Nina? Because the only person who would have the knowledge, really, of Starmer's legal career is himself.
Are you suggesting that Keir Starmer himself briefed her?
I think that there's a good... Well, I would...
Well,
if I was asking you about you'd and about your just career, I suppose, right? And I was about to go into the House of Commons to answer questions about your career, I would imagine that you would want to talk to me about that.
I cannot imagine that would have happened. How on earth would he have the time to do that in this case? And hindsight is a very wonderful thing. Let's look at what actually happened. So he was DPP until 2013. And in 2015, he then became an MP. So there were 2 years there where he was acting as a barrister. And before he became DPP, he was acting as a barrister again. And he was free to take any cases. He was instructed by many different solicitors. And as I understand it, in the cases that we were talking about, that he worked for Shiner, because barristers are instructed by the solicitor. They take a case. It's like a surgeon. You take a case and you say, will you amputate this man's leg? Or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you don't care. Does this man beat his wife? Does this man... No, he needs to have his leg amputated. Who cares about that? So you have to be as objective as you can. And it's not just the first cab off the rank thing, but you do the job. And also, if you're a human rights lawyer, which he is, which is a fantastically admirable thing to be, nobody can actually argue with that. He's a human...
For Islamic terrorists, brilliant.
No, hang on.
Brilliant.
Human rights lawyer is an admirable thing to be. You look at human beings as individuals for who they are, and you have to.
Depends whose human rights you're advocating for.
And representing paedophiles and child killers. I would question these lawyers' morals, if I'm honest.
Representing paedophiles and child killers. Let's keep it to Keir Starmer, OK? So he is then asked to do this. He may not necessarily have been instructed by Shiner himself. Shiner happened to be the head of the law firm that instructed him, but it may not have been Shiner himself. So technically, hang on a minute. Well, you know, Starmer, as an individual, has asked to clarify points of law. He never once prosecuted He never prosecuted anybody.
That, therefore, should have been their story. The issue here that Patrick has highlighted in his monologue is why did they have to change their story? And I think Patrick is also right that ultimately the information had to come from the Prime Minister, right? As he said, as Patrick said, if you needed to know about all of the people I've ever met or worked with, you'd have to ask me, and it would be written down. It might be given to an official to then pass on if I was Prime Minister, I guess. Yeah. But you would have to get the information from me. And
could it be that she misspoke?
Well, that's not what she said.
No, but when
she said new information had come to light. I mean, it's a bit desperate, isn't it? That you would have thought that you could be as clear as day on this to the Veterans Minister, who went in and gave an account that it turns out was false. And so she either made it up herself, just decided to fantasise, or she was given a false briefing that they've now had to correct. That is the serious point.
They were right under the cosh here. This is the important thing. They were right under the cosh. That news article broke. The first one broke. The Starmer advised on a point of law about a case that ended up ultimately setting a legal precedent that allowed a load of military veterans to ultimately be prosecuted, many of them wrongly for things they didn't commit. And then the follow-up story was about working with this guy who has been found to have been guilty of fraud. That fraud, in part, was making up that British troops had tortured people. And if that, I think, my personal view is that at the time, if Downing Street had felt that they could be entirely honest about that, that would have blown up massively. He might have had to have cancelled his trip to China. He was already under the cosh, facing a leadership election. I think they thought, let's be a bit misleading here and let's hope it goes away.
That's all they do, Patrick. They mislead or they're dishonest. Let's remember, they also told Parliament that we was in imminent danger of losing Diego Garcia base in Chagos, and that's why we're doing this deal. It then turns out that wasn't the case. So, look, it's constant...
Was the case.
No, it wasn't, Nina.
Was the most dishonest government.
Did you read the piece in the Sunday Times? I bet you didn't.
Did you read
any risk in the Sunday Times? No, because it was written by somebody who was actually part of the whole deal.
We was not at any risk.
Inside. We were at absolute risk of losing, and I can give you chapter and verse
on it. So the point here is about Starmer's legal career.
You don't think they're the most dishonest government in history?
No, I do not. And I don't think you can extrapolate from any of these facts or half-truths that Starmer is a man who hates this country,
below the virtues they promised.
Who wants to... Who loathes veterans.
Nina, you tie yourself in knots trying to defend this man.
I'm not trying
He's dishonest and he needs to resign.
Look, the worst thing, but I think one of the worst things, if not the worst thing, in the eyes of the British public is to find out that you're being led by a bloke who worked, in part anyway, on cases that led to loads of British troops being prosecuted incorrectly, and then that you also worked at a time with a bloke who was found to have been guilty about lying about British troops. And my view is that Downing Street did everything to try to mislead people about that. But Downing Street spokesperson has said this: the Prime Minister will never forget the courage, bravery and sacrifice made for their country by British servicemen and women. During his career, the Prime Minister has represented British soldiers who were killed in action and were wrongly accused. The Prime Minister Minister did not represent the claimants in one of the cases. He represented interveners, including the Law Society of England and Wales. The role of an intervener is to assist the court on points of law, not to advocate for either side. The Prime Minister was not involved in the subsequent case heard in the European Court of Human Rights. Downing Street denies they misled GB News, remarkable, and insists that they were clear in their guidance to us. Well, that's fascinating. OK, look, we've got loads more coming your way, but I need to tell you about the Great British Giveaway. Here it is.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win, as there's cash and a holiday up for grabs in our 2-part Great British Giveaway. First, you can bank a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for 2 people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. But don't miss out, as lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, next we've got this.
If a boy wants to wear dresses, we should just, if we allow that to work, children will experiment at different points. They will consider who they are.
It's the Education Secretary there. Should boys be allowed to wear dresses at school? That's next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable. What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Look, I get it. We all hate party broadcasts. We just want to watch Corrie or whatever's on next.
Good grief. I'll tell you what we don't want, though, Zach, is for the Green Party to give every single illegal migrant a house and a taxpayer-funded wage, which is what they're planning on doing. But first, though, should boys be allowed to wear dresses at school? It's time for the head-to-head. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has sparked outrage after suggesting that school kids should be free to experiment with their gender identity. Let's have a look and a listen.
Allowing children just to consider who they are, to behave in ways that might not be aligned with their sex or their gender. So if a boy wants to wear dresses, we should just, if we allow that to work, children will experiment at different points. They will consider who they are. That just taking a watchful approach, not coming down too hard on that, actually reduces what we see in terms of children moving towards a more medicalised model.
Close the private schools, make them all go to the state school and then slap them all in a dress. Fantastic. So tonight I'm asking, should boys be allowed to wear dresses at school? Going head-to-head on this now are gender-critical activist and author Sasha Bailey and the chair of the LGBT plus Liberal Democrats, Lucas North. Thank you very much. Sasha, I'll start with you. Should boys be allowed to wear dresses at school?
Well, no, they shouldn't. But it's got nothing to do with why a lot of people would say it is. The issue is that we have an institution in this country where people wear school uniforms. People wear what they're assigned. Most people don't like their school uniforms. If we wanted to discuss whether people should be able to wear whatever they want to school, that's a completely different argument. But the fact is, if a kid turns up in a dress, they're distracting the rest of the class, and they're there to learn. They aren't there to explore their gender. They aren't there to learn who they are. They're there to learn things about the world that are going to prepare them for the world. And I wish that the Education Secretary, rather than focusing on this, was focusing on how we can prepare young kids for a world with AI or something actually useful, rather than can you wear a dress or not, because frankly, it's completely pointless.
Lucas, your views?
As long as children are wearing the correct school uniform, does it matter whether that's the uniform we would typically associate with someone of that gender or sex? The guidance is clear that parents should be involved in these discussions, that schools should act if there is any form of safeguarding concern. Schools are not being encouraged to, encourage pupils to explore their gender identity, but just to allow it. And really, what's the harm if a male pupil attends school wearing a traditionally female school uniform? Other people shouldn't be distracted by that. People should be able to learn. That's an environment that is comfortable and safe for all involved.
Go on, Sasha, do you want to come back to that?
Yeah, I mean, in magical fairyland, that's great. And we all just wear whatever we want and no one says anything. But in reality, Jimmy turns up to school in a dress, and then suddenly we have to stop school. We have to ask, why is Jimmy wearing a dress? Oh, well, Jimmy has these pronouns, or something of the sort. It is distracting the entire class. It is completely inappropriate. The reason we have school uniforms in the UK is very simple. We believe in an equalisation system where rich people and poor people end up in the exact same uniforms. The uniforms create everyone is equal, everyone is there to learn, there are no distractions. If suddenly we allow people to wear outlandish things, then that is going to cause a problem in the learning environment.
Well, Lucas, yeah, I suppose there is that argument. Now, I think it would be quite distracting. I went to a boys' school, and if all of a sudden, like my mate Tom turned up in a frock, I would probably be distracted by that.
Well, look, I trained as a teacher. One of my placements was at an all-girls school. We had pupils who wanted to use different names, different pronouns, express their gender in a different way. It didn't confuse other pupils. People came to school, they learned. It was an environment where they were accepting, and it was perfectly normal and accepted by other students. It's not this big, inconceivable idea that students are unable to get their head around.
But you just said all-girls school. So all-girls school implies that, okay, some people are wearing trousers, which we all know isn't so much of an issue. It's just not something that people focus on as much. Whether you want to say that's unfair or not is a different argument. But the fact is, you said all-girls school, so I'm assuming you're talking about girls wearing trousers, which is just simply not the same thing, and anyone with a brain knows that.
Right, OK. Go on quickly, and then we're going to have to go, Lucas, sorry.
I was going to say, and using different names and pronouns, and realistically, pupils can learn. They can accept each other in a way often much better than we as adults can.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, both of you. Or we could do a whole show on this, right? Thank you, Sasha Bailey, there, who is the gender critical activist and author, and also the chair of the LGBT plus Liberal Democrats, Lucas North. Thank you. Right. Well, lots more coming your way. We've got an exclusive clip for you at one point. Yes, GB News has obtained exclusive footage of a packed dinghy on its way to the UK. And I've also got a clip for you of what appears to be an illegal migrant waving a knife around on a lorry that we think is destined for Britain. So we'll have the very latest on that shortly. First, though, Harry and Meghan kicked off a two-day trip to the Middle East with a little kickabout in Jordan today. But are they trying to steal the spotlight from the royal family? And they also met with some Gazans, so that's nice. Find out what they got up to shortly.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of warm and sunny weather across Europe now. Blustery showers in Cyprus, windy in the Canaries. Those two regions the exception to the mostly dry and settled theme. High pressure across Central Europe, bringing plenty of sunshine through Spain, Portugal, into France. Italy seeing above average temperatures as well, 17 or 18 Celsius widely. But we do have these showers across the Greek islands into Cyprus with some gusty winds.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mild night tonight and still pretty mild tomorrow, though not quite the same numbers that we've seen today. A dry start for many tomorrow, but there is more rain on the way. This low pressure system has been moving through. It's got a cold front associated with it, but it's a fairly feeble and weak cold front, just bringing a few spots of rain here and there, but quite a bit of cloud across central parts of England. A few showers will keep going through the night across southern Scotland and some for a time across Northern Ireland, but it does turn a bit dry here through the early hours. Largely dry and clear across eastern parts of England, and as I said, temperatures holding up. A mild night, 9 or 10 Celsius to start Thursday for most. Now, most will also start Thursday dry, but predominantly cloudy, and there will be some further outbreaks of rain across parts of northern and western Scotland. The rain's going to pep up through the day across western Scotland too, as it will also for Northern Ireland. Generally a dry start here. The odd shower over northern England and Wales, but again, most places starting dry. Some brightness in eastern England, and it's the southeast which is most likely to have a dry day tomorrow. But elsewhere, the rain moves in, so it turns damp across Northern Ireland through the morning. Western Scotland's turning pretty soggy too, and then that rain trickles into northwest England, West Wales, southwest England by lunchtime. Eventually we'll see some rain getting to the east of the Pennines and across the Midlands. As I said, the southeast generally staying dry, but cloudier than today, not as warm, but still 13, 14 is above average. The wind's quite noticeable, quite a gusty breeze blowing everywhere during Thursday, and still quite lively gusts of wind likely on Friday. Low pressure, you can see the circulation there moving across the country. Some uncertainty about the exact distribution of the rain, but could be a wet day for some. Again, though, still quite mild in the south, especially if we see any sunny spells, but it is turning a touch cooler once more across the far north. Goodbye.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
That's right, we've got exclusive footage of an illegal migrant in the back of a lorry, we believe on his way to Britain, waving a knife around in a stabbing motion. And it turns out today the Green Party want to give that migrant a house, a wage and NHS care, as they do with all illegals. More on that at 10 p.m. But the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have arrived in Jordan today on a 2-day visit to the Middle East to meet charities supporting Syrian and Palestinian refugees. The couple were all smiles at the World Health Organization meeting with UN officials and diplomats before visiting a refugee camp housing displaced Syrians, where Meghan had a kick about. But Harry and Meghan's trip comes at a deeply sensitive time for the royal family, following the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor on suspicion of misconduct in public office. And joining us to discuss this now is the showbiz journalist Sarah Louise Robertson. Thank you very much. What do you make of this trip to Jordan, then?
I'm worried about it. The optics for the royal family looks very, very bad on this, Patrick. And Alex, so there's many reasons why. I mean, look, we can get into the basics of this is Meghan Markle cosplaying Princess Diana, her idol. The way that she's standing, posing with the refugees. I mean, she asked one of them how they were in their treatment. They'd lost their legs. All very noble. But you do think, oh, hypocritical there, Meghan, because you never went to see your dad in hospital in the Philippines and asked how he was when he lost his legs. So there's all that side of it. But that's the basics, her cosplaying, Harry being dragged along like one of her Birkin handbags in the background, looking like a lost puppy. So to say, what am I doing here? But I feel that the royals have been strong-arm tackled into allowing them to do this. We know that Buckingham Palace were told in advance that they were going on this quasi-royal tour. But it's almost like the monarchy is at such a weak point because of what you've pointed out with the disgraced Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, that we've got nefarious forces, anti-monarchists in government, who would like to seize while they can, strike while the monarchy's at its weakest. And I feel they've done this with using Harry and Meghan and putting them in this situation. Look, Meghan will go anywhere for a free apple. She just wants to be lauded. She wants the world going, oh, yes, you're like Diana, you're the Mother Teresa, you're an ambassador, this, that and the other. She wants all that. She doesn't think about the political part of this. And the political part is who has she been invited by? Dr. Tedros, who, by the way, isn't actually a doctor, head of the WHO. No, he's not a doctor. Head of WHO. If you look into Tedros's background, he was a member of a hardcore Marxist regime. He's in with China. This is the man who managed the coronavirus terribly with China, or China virus, as I call it, to quote Donald Trump. He was the one who led in for worldwide lockdowns, and this is why the world's in the state that it is. And here's a man who's invited Harry and Meghan. This is a man who doesn't believe in royalty, doesn't believe in monarchy, has got Harry and Meghan there. Who else is behind this? Yvette Cooper. She got Harry into Ukraine. Look, come on, we know Labour don't like the monarchy either. Right. So this is a chance for them to have a pop at the monarchy while they're at their weakest. And
why do you think that Harry and Meghan having a kickabout with some Gazan refugees is a pop at the monarchy?
Well, the optics is bad. First of all, they said they're not working royals, that they'd left all that behind for their life of privacy over in California. So much for that. They say that they can't come to this country because the security's so bad, all the rest of it, and Harry's hauling, our government over the coals for it into court. Yeah, they're over in Jordan. I mean, it is a safe country, but they've gone there without any need for extra security. But it's the people that they're mixing with, and also the fact that it's a hot potato. These are Gazan refugees. Imagine how it would have looked if the king had gone. If Kate and William had gone and met with them. I don't want to be taking sides in that whole conflict. It was a terrible conflict. But how do those who were kidnapped by Hamas...
You feel as though... as though they've deliberately done something that the actual working members of the royal family really couldn't do.
Exactly. Exactly, This is it. And they're going in there, and by doing this, by getting Harry and Meghan in there, it's bad optics for the royals, and it makes our royal family look weak. It makes them think, well, what's the point of them? Look at Harry and Meghan, look how selfless they are. They're coming in. What's the point of them? Meghan obviously will be loving the optics of this. It's presented her in her eyes in such a wonderful light as this humanitarian stroke political ambassador. That's what she's always craved. That's what she's always wanted, that adulation. But in terms of what it's done to our royal family, it doesn't look good for William and Catherine. And I can't stress how quickly William needs to move when he does become king to strip their titles away from them, because I think it'll only get worse and it's going to drive more of a wedge between them and our royals.
Well, look, Sarah Louise, thank you very, very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Ever, Sarah Louise Robertson there, showbiz journalist. Also, we'll just say that Tedros, who you heard mentioned, the head of the World Health Organisation, is obviously not here to defend himself. But there we go. Coming up at 10 p.m, we've got a bit of this. We've got exclusive footage for you of an illegal migrant in the back of a lorry waving a knife around in a stabbing motion, we believe, on his way to Britain. That's what his social media post says. Well, it's come on the day that the Green Party has announced that they want to give illegal migrants a free house, NHS healthcare and a taxpayer-funded wage. But before we get stuck into that... Yes, well, it was a big day in the Channel today. We've got more exclusive footage for you of a packed dinghy on its way to Britain. And it turns out that apparently the French have stopped less than 2/3 of the boats. Well, yeah, all that and more.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christys here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Now, the news earlier today was that the French police are failing to stop 2/3 of small boats from crossing the channel, despite the government handing them hundreds of millions of pounds in taxpayers' cash. More than 41,000 illegal migrants reached the UK by small boat last year, but according to The Sun, France only stopped just over 22,400. So only 35% of the illegal migrants were prevented from getting through. It's not a very good return, that, is it, for our cash? That's despite giving them £700 million of your money to fund patrols. Talks are currently underway, though, for another multi-year funding deal. You are about to end up probably paying the French a load more money. For what? Anyway, the news comes on the same day that GB News exclusively revealed that nearly 600 illegal migrants reached the UK today alone, with the warm weather today resulting in a massive boat surge. GB News exclusively obtained footage from a packed dinghy where men were brazenly waving and mocking British taxpayers. Joining us now to discuss this is the chairman of Migration Watch UK, Alp Mehmet. So, Alp, one day of good weather and they're back at it straight away. Nothing's changed, has it?
Yeah, nothing's changed, and there's no surprise, and many, many more, thousands more will come. Look, 2,500 already this year, right? So we're well on the way to another 40 to 50,000 coming by the end of this year. Since it all started, that will make it 250,000 just in boats, just those who've come across illegally. 250,000 over a lifetime, that costs the exchequer, the taxpayer, something like 27 to 30 billion pounds. That's what we're talking about. And as for this nonsense that the French have stopped 2/3 or a half or whatever, can I ask the Home Office to tell us how many of those that the French stopped actually went back to Afghanistan or Somalia or Sudan? And how many of them caught the next boat to the UK? I mean, this is so specious. It's so disingenuous. It really makes me angry.
For 700 million quid, the best figure that they could come up with was, we've stopped about 1/3 of them. Oh, what? So when you stop them once, they just turn round and go home, do they? No, they don't. I mean, when I was there in those camps, they were telling me that they'd tried several different times to get across. They'll just get across. And we are now about to end up giving the French more money, aren't we, Al?
Yeah, no, we are. We are going to give them more money. And the only reason we're giving them all this money is, frankly, to cuddle up to them, to cuddle up to the EU. That's what makes me really absolutely furious, because anyone can tell the government, and I'm sure that their officials, their experts are saying to them, look, this will not work. They will continue to come. The only way you're going to stop them coming is if you intercept them, pick them up, and I'm saying this for the first time, pick them up and take them back to France. If you don't send them back to France straight away, get them here and return them pretty quickly, but still to France. If we did that, then perhaps France would be persuaded and the EU would be persuaded to actually stopping these people getting in the first place. And can I just comment on what Mr. Polanski said today? Because it's relevant. If he had his way, we are already legally having 1 million people a year arriving. The boats really are something like 10%, or illegal migration is something like 10% of what is the legal flow. And if we are saying, come, whatever you want to do, you can come here and do, you can come here, we will give you a home, we will keep you, we're going to get a hell of a lot more than 1 million a year arriving on our doorstep.
Absolutely, we are. Absolutely. Look, Al, thank you very, very much.
Bankrupting the country. That's what we're doing.
Well, I'm inclined to agree. Al Mehmet there from Migration Watch UK. Thank you so much. A Home Office spokesperson has said the government is bearing down on the small boat crossings. We have stopped 40,000 crossing attempts since this government came into office through our joint work with the French. We've removed or deported almost 60,000 people who were here illegally. Our pilot deal with the French means those who arrive on small boats are now being sent back. The Home Office has also announced the most sweeping reforms to tackle illegal immigration in modern times, removing the incentives that bring illegal migrants to the UK and scaling up the return of those with no right to be here. So, coming up at 10 p.m, it's a story that follows on perfectly from this. Here's a bit of it. Today here at GB News, we came into possession of a video that, as you were seeing there, appears to show an illegal migrant in the back of a lorry on their way to Britain, waving a knife around in a stabbing motion, which I think most people will regard as terrifying. However, it's also emerged today that the Green Party wants to give that migrant a free house, NHS healthcare and a taxpayer-funded wage. And also, even if someone fails their asylum claim, the Greens will let them stay. It's bonkers. Plus, Sir Keir Starmer has paused the Chagos deal after President Trump's intervention. That appears to be a bit of a victory. However, Labour can't make up their minds whether or not they have paused it. They said they'd paused it, then they came out and said they haven't really paused it, but now I think it's, quotes, on ice. So there's a theme for tonight's show, isn't there? Which is, the Labour government perhaps being really quite misleading. But I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you as well, and all of that is coming your way in just a couple of minutes' time, so don't miss.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mild night tonight and still pretty mild tomorrow, though not quite the same numbers that we've seen today. Dry start for many tomorrow, but there is more rain on the way. This low pressure system has been moving through. It's got a cold front associated with it, but it's a fairly feeble and weak cold front, just bringing a few spots of rain here and there, but quite a bit of cloud across central parts of England. A few showers will keep going through the night across southern Scotland and some for a time across Northern Ireland, but it does turn a bit dry here through the early hours. Largely dry and clear across eastern parts of England, and as I said, temperatures holding up, a mild night, 9 or 10 Celsius to start Thursday for most. Now, most will also start Thursday dry, but predominantly cloudy, and there will be some further outbreaks of rain across parts of northern and western Scotland. The rain's going to pep up through the day across western Scotland too, as it will also for Northern Ireland. Generally a dry start here. The odd shower over northern England and Wales, but again, most places starting dry. Some brightness in eastern England, and it's the southeast which is most likely to have a dry day tomorrow. But elsewhere, the rain moves in, so it turns damp across Northern Ireland through the morning. Western Scotland's turning pretty soggy too, and then that rain trickles into northwest England, West Wales, southwest England by lunchtime. Eventually we'll see some rain getting to the east of the Pennines and across the Midlands. As I said, the southeast generally staying dry, but cloudier than today, not as warm, but still 13, 14 is above average. The wind's quite noticeable, quite a gusty breeze blowing everywhere during Thursday, and still quite lively gusts of wind likely on Friday. Low pressure, you can see the circulation there moving across the country. Some uncertainty about the exact distribution of the rain, but could be a wet day for some. Again, though, still quite mild in the south, especially if we see any sunny spells, but it is turning a touch cooler once more across the far north. Goodbye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win £30,000 in tax-free cash. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from. But you have to hurry because time is ticking.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 33225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
Zach Polanski has transformed the Green Party. Since being elected leader,
the Green Party wants to give every illegal migrant a house and a taxpayer-funded wage. Even this guy. More on that in a second, but also tonight.
the decision now to establish an inquiry also enables us to make progress.
Yes, big news for you. The Scottish Government has announced a grooming gangs inquiry. Charlie Peters will be live with us shortly for the latest. I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and breaking news on the front of the I paper is the Chancellor has demanded Andrew Mountbatten Windsor pays back any misused taxpayer cash. I'm also going to be talking about the pausing of the Chagos Surrender Act. So there you go. I'll have all of that coming your way. On my panel tonight, we've got the director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and the journalist Nina Mishkov. And President Trump has exposed that left-wingers don't really care about their country.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
The Democrats did not stand up. And what happens next here? Oh, I'll reveal all. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. The Green Party wants to give every illegal migrant a house. Next.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 10. The Metropolitan Police has apologised to the Speaker of the House of Commons after revealing he was the source of information linked to Lord Peter Mandelson's arrest. Sir Lindsay Hoyle told MPs in the Commons today he had shared the information with officers in good faith after hearing concerns the former minister could be preparing to leave the country.
To prevent
any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media.
Well, Lord Mandelson was arrested on Monday on suspicion of misconduct in public office, later released on bail until May. His lawyers say claims that he planned to leave the UK are baseless, and he continues to deny any wrongdoing. Police have added tonight that it would be inappropriate to comment further while the investigation remains ongoing. Nearly 600 migrants have crossed the English Channel today, marking the largest single-day total of the year so far. Provisional figures show 590 people were taken to Ramsgate by Border Force and lifeboat crews, with the final arrivals coming in shortly after 4:30 this afternoon. With calm conditions expected to continue, patrols remain on alert for further crossings through this evening, and officials say the journeys are still being organised by criminal gangs. From today, visitors from 85 countries now need an electronic permit before travelling to the UK, or they won't be allowed to board flights. The electronic travel authorisation, costing £16, will be mandatory for travellers who don't need a visa, as the government tightens border checks. Airlines will be required to refuse boarding without the authorisation or any other documents, though British and Irish citizens are exempt. Ministers say the scheme will strengthen border security and help to modernise the system for travellers. The Home Office has been given the green light today to challenge a High Court ruling that found their decision to ban Palestine action was unlawful. The group was banned under the Terrorism Act last year, making it a criminal offence to belong to or to support it, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. But 3 judges ruled earlier this month that the prescription was disproportionate and say they will quash the decision. Ministers, though, say they are pleased they can now take the case back to the Court of Appeal. And energy bills are set to fall by around £117 a year from April after Ofgem announced a drop in the price cap. That means for a typical household, roughly £10 a month saving, though the exact amount will vary. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband says the fall reflects government action in the budget. But the Shadow Energy Secretary Andrew Bowie says the pressure on households is still growing.
But this is actually devastating for Ed Miliband and Rachel Reeves. Despite all of the efforts they've made, their sleight of hand, increasing taxes to pay for a slight reduction in bills, we're still £70 worse off in our energy bills than we were in July 2024. And all the experts predict that bills are going to continue to rise for the rest of this year. So this promise that Ed Miliband gave us during the election of reducing bills by £300 looks even more unlikely by the day, despite their best efforts to try and cover up what is a nonsensical approach to energy in this country.
You're up to date just after 10 o'clock. I'll be back with you in an hour's time. Now that it's over to Patrick.
Good evening. The Green Party wants to give illegal migrants free houses, a taxpayer-funded wage with no requirement to work, and free NHS treatment. According to internal documents seen by the Daily Mail, the Greens plan to abolish immigration detention and grant a full amnesty to illegal migrants to stay in Britain, even if their asylum claims are rejected. So, if an illegal migrant has had their case rejected because they're a rapist, a paedophile, a murderer or a terrorist, Zach Polanski's Green Party, wants to let them stay in Britain? In fact, they'll give them a house. Now, today, this happened in the Channel. At least 10 boats arrived. We think that it was very close to somewhere in the region of 600-700 illegal migrants that made their way to Britain today alone. First bit of good weather we had, they're right back at it. But according to documents seen by the Daily Mail, the Green Party's policy is this. Migrant families would be accommodated in a house or a flat with exclusive use, and lone men would each have their own room in shared accommodation, but would be given their own property if they claim to be LGBTQIA+, for, quote, safeguarding purposes. They would also be given a wage at the same level of universal basic income, with no requirement to be either working or actively seeking work. They will be allowed to work, if they obviously can get a job, from the moment they arrive with no restrictions, and they'll be entitled to free NHS care. Now, I'm going to play you a clip. It's an exclusive clip that we came into possession of here on my show today. Watch this. Let's see if we can play that again without sound. So this is a man in the back of a lorry waving a knife around and making stabbing motions. We believe that he was in a lorry destined for Britain, and you can see the St George's Cross and the Union flag in that social media post there, waving a knife around in the back of a lorry. Under the Green Party's policy, men like that will be given a house, a taxpayer-funded salary and free NHS treatment. And he'd even be allowed to stay if his asylum claim was rejected. This is mental. It's mental. When you add that to the idea that the Green Party wants to legalise crack cocaine and heroin, and the fact that they've been infiltrated by people like this...
Raise the voice of Palestine! Allahu Akbar!
I think you seriously have to ask if the Green Party are the biggest threat to Britain in modern times. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Director of Public Services, Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Right, Mark, so the Green Party's policy on illegal immigration, your views?
Absolutely crazy. I'm glad they want to legalise crack cocaine, because I'm going to need some if they ever form a government, right? I mean, it is beyond bananas. I mean, put aside that it is morally wrong, we should not be providing these services. It is also completely unaffordable. And I've often argued on this programme, Patrick, that to my mind, the biggest problem with immigration and asylum is the pull factor. Sure, we can have really interesting discussion about how could we actually stop the small boats in the channel, and, you know, what could the Royal Navy do, and, you know, what do we do with people when they disembark, all that sort of stuff, worthy arguments. But really the problem is that people know that there truly is a pot of gold, and you don't need to go to the end of the rainbow to find it. And the Green Party's response to this is to put even more pots of gold away. So the number of small boat crossings would increase almost in direct proportion to the benefits that you can accrue while you're here. So we need to, I mean, I think it's a pretty good rule of thumb. If you look at the Green Party and its manifesto and its policy proposals, if you do exactly the opposite, you're probably on the right track. And what we should be doing here is exactly the opposite. We cannot be the welfare state for the world. The National Health Service cannot be a World Health Service. This would exacerbate what has already become an absolutely disastrous problem for the UK.
Yeah, I don't know if we might be able to get that clip up again of the old knife man in the back of the lorry there, if we can talk over it. But, I mean, that is a guy in the back of a lorry. We've got that exclusive footage here today, waving a knife around, making stabbing motions, saying he's on his way to Britain. Yeah. And there he is. And the reality now is that under Zach Polanski's Green Party, he could be given a house. If he says he's gay, he will be given a house or a flat just somewhere in the UK, that bloke.
It's horrifying, and the Green Party have no idea what they're talking about. They are lunatics. The Green Party are a bunch of lunatics. You've got Zach Polanski that went over to the migrant camps in Calais, basically to give a load of migrants a cuddle. You've got the deputy leader, Rachel Millward, that doesn't want migrants in her area, but they've got to go everywhere else. Now, to give illegals all the right to stay here, there are some estimates of 1.5 million illegal immigrants in this country. Where are we going to find the houses? Where are we going to find this money to give them these benefits? That money comes from our taxes. And look, the man you just showed with a knife, he could be put in the Bell Hotel next week, just 2 miles from my house.
Well, he could be put next to your house.
Near where my girls...
In your house?
Near where my girls or my nieces go to school. Yeah. We have men like that coming over. And the Green Party want to tell the whole world, come here. What is the point of an asylum system? What is the point when you're telling the whole world, if you want to come to Britain, we will house you and we will give you money, no matter what you've done and no matter what you do while you're here?
Nina, do you think, when you look at that and the whole package, really, of Green Party. Do you think they are dangerous?
Not as dangerous as the Reform councillor who suggested that the Labour MP should be shot. Let's not forget that Nigel Farage did not take the opportunity, when invited to by Keir Starmer, to apologise for that, but talked about Chagos.
It's not official Reform policy, though, is it?
No, it's not official Reform policy.
This is official Polanski Green policy.
Look, you know, if you're not put off by Polanski's teeth, you're going to accept anything that he's going to say through them.
It's a bit personal.
Of course it's personal. Right. It's an insult. And I'm perfectly aware of that.
OK.
The thing is with Polanski that every time he appears, they get more party members. It's extraordinary. I think they've got 195,000 and at the last count, which is madness. He appeals to young people who are idealistic, who haven't been sort of tempered by life and practicalities. Yeah. And so, therefore, he will give out these statements which are entirely extreme, ridiculous and untenable, really. I mean, everybody would know that that isn't, you know, you don't do this.
But people... look, they're polling around 15% nationally, right? That's roughly speaking where they are. And if you had the combination, seriously, of legalised crack and heroin, a motion that's going to be voted on at their conference, which is that maybe Jews don't have the right to self-determination and that Israel shouldn't exist, and that, which is ironic, actually, I suppose, in a way. Well, no, not really, because it's talking about a world without borders and the idea that anyone who's had their asylum claim rejected will be allowed to stay in Britain and given a house. Yep. And a taxpayer-funded salary. I mean, let's talk about that, the salary.
I mean... It's beyond fantasy economics. I mean, none of this adds up, even if you thought this was a good idea. And I'm surprised there's as many as 195,000 people who are willing to join a party. Simply, they do think it's a good idea.
And growing, apparently.
It is completely unaffordable. I mean, it is tapping into some sort of lunacy in the electorate. It is utter madness. I mean, effectively, what Polanski has managed to do is to walk into the void left by Jeremy Corbyn and the collapse of your party, and the wholly unrealistic, fantastical people on the left, an impossible coalition to keep together. I mean, I just don't know at their party conference how they're going to divide the socially conservative Islamists with the, you know, rainbow alphabet community. I mean, it's going to be completely ridiculous. So it is a completely untenable coalition. But at the moment, it appeals to anyone, or a good number of people, who say, I am woke, left and progressive, and I don't like the way things are going, and I want to virtue signal how much I care about victims and the oppressed. That's what it is. It's a club and a cult for that.
It is a cult. It
is not a policy programme for anything other, for any serious government. In fact, it's a policy programme that would destroy the United Kingdom in weeks.
Yes.
But it's a very big cult, and you can't ignore it. That's the trouble. I mean, but what we need in terms of migration is somebody to say this is a state of emergency, hire lots of people, make the deadline 3 months. You know,
we've been saying this on this channel for years, and people like you attack me and say I'm racist.
No, I don't attack you and say you're racist. I've never used the word racist in my life to you.
Suddenly you're coming round to...
Interesting. I've always thought that. I have always thought that.
OK,
but I'm
Nina,
saying the process...
You told me once that these were doctors coming across on the boats. Yes, you did. And I'll phrase what you said. You said one of these could treat your young kid for cancer in the future, and I mocked you and laughed.
No, I didn't say all of them are doctors. I said one of them could, and you don't know one of them.
One thing, though, Patrick.
But they are. They should be put to work if they are able to.
They shouldn't be here.
Sorry.
They can't even speak English half the time.
Our lazy young people. You cannot get a British boy to get off the sofa and pick fruit.
Do you agree, Nina?
Do you agree, Nina?
Nobody
can. What's happening to our agriculture? We need them in agriculture.
Do you agree
if they don't have the
do you agree the basic test should be, are you a net contributor or a net taker? And if you're a net contributor, we will probably let you in.
Just
And if you're a
one
net
thing, Nina.
They want to work.
The Greens, these documents show that they want a borderless world.
Yes.
That is like having a house without a front door. Would you go to bed and sleep tight knowing that you had no front door in your house? No, you wouldn't. This is what the Greens want for our country, and it will destroy us. We're being destroyed now by this immigration catastrophe. These would just turbocharge it, and I would move. If the Greens got in, I would take my kids to somewhere safe, because this would be a hellhole under the Greens.
You want to go to Spain, do you?
I'll go wherever is safe for my children.
Well,
because right now this country is on a downward spiral.
Spain is just actually legitimising 500,000, 500,000 migrants.
I would go wherever is safe for my children.
But when you look at all this in the round, like about, there's a lot of rhetoric around at the moment about dangers in politics, dangers of rhetoric, dangers of language, when you just look at this particular specific policy from the Green Party on its own, in total isolation, a universal basic income, right? That gets given to all the illegals. All the illegals are allowed to stay, even if they failed an asylum application. And some people will have failed it because they've committed the most heinous crimes that you could possibly think of. And then they give them a house, which we don't have. You're bankrupt and having to basically live in cardboard boxes within minutes.
But we might have clean rivers.
Young
and a few more trees.
That's
young
really
people
interesting.
see that as idealism. It's not realism.
Yeah,
it's not realism.
I think what Adam says is the interesting point here. The reason they're surfing a bit of a wave is quite a lot of folk think of the Green Party as clean the rivers, mow the lawn, save the panda, the nice, cuddly stuff like that. And it's going to take a lot of exposure before we realise, actually, their programme is let in everybody, give them tons of cash, and you can have your kids on crack cocaine, because that's actually the manifesto. But it will take a bit of time. They've actually got quite a good legacy brand, which is associated with soft, cuddly, tree-hugging, like wildlife sort of stuff. In truth, they are now segueing into being a revolutionary Marxist party, basically.
Well, with a strong Islamic current.
I know that.
Massive. I mean, literally, that is part of that.
Dorothy, that lives at number 59, doesn't know that yet.
No, she just wants to save the panda and clean the rivers.
Exactly.
And Polanski's going to need to be exposed on this. Every time he does a long-form interview, he gets destroyed.
Yes.
And the more of those that happen, I want to see some, top economist interview him. He would be shredded.
I reckon I know more about the economy than him.
But the thing is, he knows he doesn't need to be practical or have the sums add up. I mean, when
that's a good starting point.
But it's deceitful, though, isn't it?
But Nigel Farage had all sorts of daft policies.
But he'll sit down and get interviewed for an hour.
No, but then
he will back up what he says. This guy can't.
He just threw things out because he knew.
But that policy alone is existential to the future of this
completely.
And
it could be the Greens versus Reform at the next election.
Well, there we go. Right, look. A Green Party spokesman has told, this was the Daily Mail newspaper that they told this to, we're proud of this policy, voted on and decided by our members. We know it's popular as well. Green policy regularly comes out as the most popular in the polls. So we reached out to the Green Party as well. We asked them to come on. We haven't heard back from them, so there you go. Anyway, let me tell you about the Great British Giveaway. It's a borderless world where you get a home, an NHS care... Oh, no, sorry, no, it's not. It's not. It's whatever this is.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win, as there's cash and a holiday up for grabs in our 2-part Great British Giveaway. First, you can bank a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for 2 people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. But don't miss out out as lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up, I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and breaking on the front page of the Daily Telegraph tomorrow is NHS spending has doubled in 17 years with no impact on the nation's health. I am becoming increasingly of the view that we are living in some kind of weird simulation designed to see how much we can take before we all spontaneously combust. Anyway, continuing that theme, the Chagos deal was paused today, and then it was unpaused as the government scrambled to make its mind up about what to do. It's a complete farce. I'll try and give you the latest, but it might have changed by the time we come back from this break.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, that's got a bit of a smell.
A birthday fit for a Queenie.
My name was Queenie Robinson. Everybody wants to know about my name. Is it a real name? Is it a nickname? No, it's not. It's on my birth certificate. My father forgot what I should have been called, and I've never found out since.
But the name didn't stick, and Queenie quickly became known as Robbie after signing up to join the RAF. Robbie served in the Women's Auxiliary Air Force in a bomber command, despite still being 17.
She said, "You are 18, aren't you?" I said, "Oh, yes, I'll be 19 in February." Because lie out. I was only 17. She sort of gave me an old-fashioned look. She didn't believe me, I know.
Her first love, Frank Vincent, also served in the war.
There's Frank, yeah. And that's his aircraft, the Lancaster.
Aged 21, he flew in the Lancaster bomber. But just months before they were due to get married, Frank was killed in action. Robbie has kept Frank's love of aviation alive, flying a Spitfire, aged 101.
I had a male called James as my pilot, and he said, "Do you want to do a victory roll, Robbie?" So I said, "Oh, yes." So we turned turtle sort of thing, and there was me sort of sitting there looking at pink clouds upside down.
In December, Robbie took to the skies once again, this time without an engine, in a glider, aged 102. This week, Robbie is celebrating her 103rd birthday.
My friend suggests that my next ambition is to jump tandem out of a plane.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. So, confusing story this, mostly because the government can't make its mind up. The government's Chagos deal has descended into absolute farce, even more than it already was today, because of confusion over whether or not ministers have now paused the treaty to give the islands away to Mauritius. So, here's what happened. Foreign Office Minister, Nepo baby Hamish Faulkner, told MPs today that the legislation was being paused in Parliament. He said it in Parliament, while talks are underway with the United States after President Donald Trump urged the Prime Minister to scrap the treaty. So then we go, great, they've paused it. He said it. Hamish Faulkner has spoken. Thank you. However, Downing Street and then the Foreign Office later came out and said Hamish Faulkner misspoke in Parliament and that there was no pause and we have never set a deadline. It comes at the same time as a group of Chagossians are currently camped out on one of the islands in defiance of a British government exclusion zone in protest over the deal. Now, I'm joined now by the Chagossian lead at the Friends of British Overseas Territory, Vanessa Kalau. Thank you very, very much. So, as far as you understand it, has this deal been paused then, or not?
Thank you for having me. As you know, we have a UK government, Labour Party in power that no one trusts, and they always talk untrue and mislead a parliament. So I don't believe that is paused.
You don't believe that it's paused? OK,
no.
All right. Which is, again, it's kind of almost like mental torture for the Chagossians, on top of separate mental torture. To have Hamish Faulkner there, who, for the life of me, by the way, I can't understand. Well, I kind of can understand why I think he's got a job, because his dad's a Labour peer. But standing up there, saying, we've paused it, and we'll get a clip of this, by the way. Oh, here we go. We've got the clip, Vanessa. OK, the clip is coming your way. This is what Hamish Faulkner said in Parliament.
We have a process going through Parliament in relation to the treaty. We will bring that back to Parliament at the appropriate time. We are pausing for discussions with our American counterparts.
There you go. That's what he said. And then a couple of hours later, they come out and say that he misspoke. I mean, this is chaos.
Yes, so we have a parliament that when a minister say is paused in parliament, it should be go by the minister said in parliament. So we can't go later on and change it. So the prime minister should be there in parliament on question time. So he didn't been here. That is a fail on the public that trusting him to be there. So for some reason he didn't been there, but the people who replace him, he said that is paused, that be mandate. That is paused. But I don't trust them. Yeah. I don't trust that government.
The added detail here is that this Labour government, at its core, is asking us to trust them that they have got the best deal for Britain when it comes to the Chagos Islands, and that they are competent and that they've done the right thing. And then Hamish Faulkner goes into Parliament today and he literally can't even tell us whether or not it's been paused. He has said it's paused, then it's not paused. These are the people that the British public, they are our ambassadors, these people. I mean, Vanessa, surely you could do a better job than this guy. Anyone could do a better job than this guy.
When we take responsibility, we need to take it seriously. They've been voted to be there and they're failing their responsibility. We have a government, Chagos government is not in exile, is in our land, is a British land and is a British overseas territory, and the government can't remove drag anyone from their own land to remove where, because we are British, the land is British, and he can't do that. So normally, when we don't trust that government, Keir Starmer should bin that Chagos deal because he's weakening our friendship with the UK-US and is not securing our safety here in the UK, because this strategic military base is a key in the world for the UK-US friendship. He's weakening this one, so we need to know why he's continuing with his own agenda.
Yeah.
He got a U-turn. Why not have a 15 U-turn now.
Absolutely. Well, look, Vanessa, thank you very much for coming on. And I'm sorry that you're kind of constantly having to go through this trauma of, you know, is this deal paused or is it not paused? It's Vanessa Kalau there, who is the Chagosian lead at the Friends of British Overseas Territory. I mean, that clip we played you of Hamish Faulkner there, he's got the look of a bloke. You know when you were at school and there was a kid at the back of the class who was just sitting there just chewing his own sleeve? It's like, we've managed to give that guy a suit, somehow give him a job now, and he's in charge of this thing. It's absolutely bonkers that this guy's anywhere near government. Anyway, coming up, I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you. The breaking news in the front of the Telegraph. NHS spending has doubled in 17 years and it's had absolutely no impact on the nation's health. So well done, everyone. That's great. See you soon. Bye-bye.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of warm and sunny weather across Europe now. Blustery showers in Cyprus, windy in the Canaries. Those two regions the exception to the mostly dry and settled theme. High pressure across Central Europe, bringing plenty of sunshine through Spain, Portugal, into France. Italy seeing above average temperatures as well, 17 or 18 Celsius widely. But we do have these showers across the Greek islands into Cyprus with some gusty winds.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mild night tonight and still pretty mild tomorrow, though not quite the same numbers that we've seen today. A dry start for many tomorrow, but there is more rain on the way. This low pressure system has been moving through. It's got a cold front associated with it, but it's a fairly feeble and weak cold front, just bringing a few spots of rain here and there, but quite a bit of cloud across central parts of England. A few showers will keep going through the night across southern Scotland and some for a time across Northern Ireland, but it does turn a bit dry here through the early hours. Largely dry and clear across eastern parts of England, and as I said, temperatures holding up. A mild night, 9 or 10 Celsius to start Thursday for most. Now, most will also start Thursday dry, but predominantly cloudy, and there will be some further outbreaks of rain across parts of northern and western Scotland. The rain's going to pep up through the day across western Scotland too, as it will also for Northern Ireland. Generally a dry start here. The odd shower over northern England and Wales, but again, most places starting dry. Some brightness in eastern England, and it's the southeast which is most likely to have a dry day tomorrow. But elsewhere, the rain moves in, so it turns damp across Northern Ireland through the morning. Western Scotland's turning pretty soggy too, and then that rain trickles into northwest England, West Wales, southwest England by lunchtime. Eventually, we'll see some rain getting to the east of the Pennines and across the Midlands. As I said, the southeast generally staying dry, but cloudier than today. Not as warm, but still 13, 14 is above average. The wind's quite noticeable, quite a gusty breeze blowing everywhere during Thursday, and still quite lively gusts of wind likely on Friday. Low pressure, you can see the circulation there moving across the country. Some uncertainty about the exact distribution of the rain, but could be a wet day for some. Again, though, still quite mild in the south, especially if we see any sunny spells. But it is turning a touch cooler once more across the far north. Goodbye.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Well, we have got some developing stories for you about the grooming gang situation, by the way, but I'll give you the front pages first. Start with The Independent. These are tomorrow's front pages. Speaker tipped off police that Mandelson was a flight risk. This is ridiculous. I mean, again, it just shows the incompetence of the Metropolitan Police. The Metro, they go for high rollers. Oh, no, they don't. They've changed their front page on the one I'm looking at. Anyway, the Metro sometimes do change their front pages, so we'll leave that one there. The iPaper, Reeves, Andrew must pay back any misused taxpayer money. This comes after allegations that he used taxpayers' money to pay for massages. And others. OK, the Daily Express, just say no. Don't reward the French for boat failure. Yeah, we're about to give the French a load more money despite the fact that they've stopped, like, less than 2/3 of the illegal migrants coming across the channel. The Daily Telegraph, doubling cash for NHS impact had no impact. So, apparently, yeah, the amount of money that we've given to the NHS has doubled over the past 17 years, and it has had literally no impact on the nation's health at all. So there we go. Look, first things first, let's do the story quickly on the front of The Independent. Speaker tipped off police Mandelson was a flight risk. Mark, this is Lindsay Hoyle basically had to come out today and say that he was the one who told the police that he thought Mandelson was going to flee to the British Virgin Islands. And the reason he had to do that was because the police told Peter Mandelson this.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable from the Met. I don't know how good or robust Lindsay Hoyle's evidence was. We can speculate about that. But presumably, when he was out in the British Virgin Islands just a few days ago, somehow or other he came across information. I mean, you suspect and hope this is more than just some drunk bloke talking to him in a bar, right? You would assume there was some information that he took seriously. And therefore, he's done the right thing to pass that on to the police. I thought it was very strange that he said, you know, and I acted in good faith. I'm not really sure his faith was... Well, you don't
think the police are going to reveal who their sources are?
Yeah, but I think we would have presumed he was acting in good faith. I don't think there's any suggestion it's in bad faith. The idea that the cops... Plod then told Mandelson's lawyers what the source of this information was. And it is significant because on the basis of this information, and again, we don't know exactly how robust it was, but I'm sure Lindsay Hoyle gave an accurate account of what he'd been told or what he believed. On the basis of this, Mandelson was arrested rather than just interviewed pre-arranged date. I presume, therefore, he's had his passport taken away because that would be usual. That would be the usual thing. So they've taken this flight risk seriously, but they have also revealed their source.
The message here from the Metropolitan Police is that if you go to them and you give them information...
They will tell the other side.
They might tell the person that they arrest.
And you could be all over the papers. Yep.
Brilliant. This is shocking, actually. It really is shocking. You should be able to trust the police to act in the correct manner. It's absolutely...
Well, the Met's a disaster zone.
Yeah. The thing is, Lindsay Hall apparently has contacts all around the world, and I think he has a very strong contact with the British Virgin Islands. So I would imagine that as he has such status here, when he goes there, he's talking to people in the upper echelons.
I spoke to someone in the media today that guessed that he may have gone to the British Virgin Islands as a stepping stone, maybe to somewhere like Brazil, where he couldn't have been extradited, and maybe longed that out for the rest of his life. That was just a guess. Right. Obviously, I'm not suggesting he would do that, but you could be extradited from the British Virgin Islands, so he wasn't running away to just there.
Yeah, well, also, by the way, as we all know by now, Peter Mandelson has not been charged with anything. He denies any wrongdoing in the strongest possible terms, and he also denies that he was planning on fleeing justice and probably ever going to the British Virgin Islands. So that's where we are with that. I'm going to return to the front pages shortly, but this is a huge story. Now, the Scottish Government today announced its own grooming gang inquiry. Joining us to discuss this now is GB News' national reporter, Charlie Peters. Charlie, thank you very much. So what's going on here, then?
Well, Patrick, last year, GB News revealed a case in Glasgow, a grooming gang operating in the city about 10 years ago. Now, the woman who spoke to us, who we're calling Taylor, revealed some astonishing details, Patrick. Details that social care workers and police officers had ignored her concerns, and that even though her name was mentioned in an investigation, the police made a tentative inquiry but did not interview her. We also saw from her social care records one moment where the police had said that she appears to have been abused by a group of blank men. Now, the word Pakistani, she believes, had been censored by this report. Wow. Now, Patrick, Taylor spoke to us because she saw that GB News was covering this issue a lot, but also because there was a fierce debate going on in Scotland at the time about whether or not the country needed its own inquiry. England and Wales has one after the Prime Minister took on that recommendation from Baroness Casey last year, but Scotland wasn't included. The Tories put forward an amendment in Holyrood in September. It was voted down. The Justice Secretary, Angela Constance, said that there were no current police investigations looking into the grooming gangs of a style that we'd seen in England. But part of the reason of that is because of what I just mentioned, Patrick, that when the police even had evidence of these things happening, they did not investigate. Now, since then, more survivors have come forward since our reports. I'm glad to say that other reporters north of the border did chase up the issue, and other politicians also latched onto it beyond just the opposition Conservatives. The Labour MP Joni Reid, for example, have been welcoming this statement today. But from what I can gather, the Education Secretary, Jenny Gilruth, Patrick, she's been meeting with survivors in the last couple of months, including with the mother of Taylor twice, including this morning. That's the survivor from Glasgow who spoke to us. And that mother has told us that she very much welcomed Jenny Gilruth, her SNP minister's engagement, that had made a difference. She's understood the problem. And it comes after they announced a review in December, which was getting a lot of pushback from survivors and their families, saying actually a full inquiry is needed. That's what's going to be launched now.
Yeah, well, that's the point I want to drill down on. What is the scope of this inquiry? Because you know that the national inquiry that Keir Starmer and co have launched here has come under massive criticism for trying to broaden the scope away from, really, the Pakistani rape scandal, maybe into a load of other stuff as well. So what do we know about what's going to happen in Scotland?
Well, still waiting for the terms of reference, and I've had tentative responses from other survivors and victims I've spoken to, including those who've been trafficked from England to Scotland, saying, look, this is a good step, this is reassuring. But what they're also saying, Patrick, is even in the last year, we've had concerns about this national inquiry in England and Wales not going in the direction we wanted, potentially being drawn off course. The government now, they insist that it will be laser focused, that national inquiry, onto the grooming gangs specifically. But of course, so many survivors lost trust with that process last year. We're still awaiting Anne Longfield, the Baroness leading that inquiry, to agree to the terms of reference set out later this year. It's taking a very long time, isn't it? But with this Scotland inquiry now coming along, similar concerns being expressed, waiting for those terms of reference to come on. But if it is done properly, Patrick, then it would mean that the entirety of Great Britain is now covered by a statutory inquiry. This will be a public inquiry, which means, Patrick, it will be able to demand evidence and testimony. Previously, there was just going to be a review with a lot of people up there, including victims and their families, saying it would just be the same institutions marking their own homework. So this is very much something of a U-turn from the SNP.
Absolutely. Charlie, look, thank you very, very much for bringing us that news, especially at this late hour. Charlie Peters there, who's GBNews' national reporter, so that grooming gang inquiry in Scotland. That was some big news from today. Look, coming up, more of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you. And the breaking news in the front of the Sun is that the Tourette's campaigner, who was at the centre of a bit of an issue at the BAFTAs where he said the N-word, has actually thrown the BBC under the bus, and rightly so. Rightly so. We'll talk about that next.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
There are at least 500 dumps scouring the British countryside, and there's a massive one, which we've been at this morning for GB News in Wigan. It's been dubbed the most dangerous of its kind in the country, and it's on land partially owned by King. It stinks. It's attractive. It will be a magnet for rodents, rats. Look at that.
You just think.
If you're listening on the radio, it is. Well, how high would you say that is?
Well,
18 foot high.
Contact, but yeah, at least meters and meters. And you can understand.
If you dived in that, you'd be dead.
You would. wouldn't recommend it. You can understand, well, it's taller than the trees. It is taller than the trees. It's taller than a JCB. How on earth did this happen? Well, joining us now from the dump itself is GB News national reporter Sophie Reaper. Sophie, we've just been saying how you can understand fly tipping, people dumping the odd bin bag or piece of furniture, but how do you go from that to this enormous piece of rubbish dump?
It's disgraceful.
I think that's the question on the lips of a lot of the local residents in this area, Miriam. People asking how and why this has been allowed to happen and why nothing's being done about it. We got the chance to speak exclusively to the owner of one of those houses, whose house is right there, his garden backs right onto it. Here's what he had to say.
Well, down here, you've forgotten. The council ignore it. They just skirt around the edges of it, doing nothing. When they cleaned up the one in Oxfordshire, they said they're only cleaning that one up because it was a fire risk. This has already been on fire once. It cost over £500,000 to put the fire out, and it's going to happen again. So, but just by their own standards, I think they should clear it up. If it costs £3 million, it costs £3 million.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back. Let's give you the rest of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, starting this round with The Guardian. Damning report exposes scandal of NHS maternity unit cover-ups. Well, look, we know this, sadly, that maternity care in the NHS is substandard, to say the least, and that they, crucially in this case, cover things up as well. The Daily Mail, is Prince of Darkness up to his old spin tricks? Police probe descends into farce. Officers reveal Common Speaker was source of tip-off that Mandelson planned to flee to the British Virgin Islands. The Times, Epstein used UK as hub to traffic scores of women. Grief. The Sun, BAFTA row John, blame the BBC. So, yeah, this is John Davidson, who obviously was picked up on a microphone at the BAFTAs saying the N-word, and has then faced an unbelievable amount of criticism for it. I mean, can I just say that everyone who's criticising him is a frothing idiot, right? And they need their heads checking. This guy's got a medical condition where he says, in part, the worst thing you can possibly imagine. And he said, like, the worst word there is, OK, at the worst possible time, of course, not that there's ever a good time. But then the people are now just calling him a racist, all this, but he's throwing the BBC under the bus here.
Well, he's rightly thrown them under the bus, or he's at least correctly blamed them. I mean, this seems to be yet another string of completely incompetent decisions by the BBC. Davison said the BBC sat him by a microphone, despite knowing of his outbursts. He shouted 10 offensive words at Sunday's awards, apparently. Why was he sat next to a microphone? They had 2 hours to edit this from the broadcast. 2 hours, not 2 seconds. Yeah. Not like hitting an emergency pause button. Plenty of time to do it. Who the hell decided not to? Absolutely ludicrous.
The thing is,
I mean, what was their rationale? Well, it wasn't deaf to the IDF, so it's probably OK to broadcast it. I mean, you would have thought these people had learnt their lessons about having some senior oversight onto what's broadcast and what isn't, and they had plenty of time to make a sensible editorial decision, and they completely failed.
Have any of you seen the film?
I haven't.
No. I have. It's absolutely brilliant, and it does actually. It's quite a hard watch because it actually does explain Tourette's to you. I mean, it's such a heartbreaking story. You go along with it, and the guy who won the BAFTA for the acting absolutely deserved it. The BBC, you know, how long is it since the BBC were run by grown-ups? Seriously, that's a professional job. BAFTA invited this man, knowing the condition. They warned the BBC. There was an announcement to the audience before the taping started, saying this, you know, there might be outbursts and to understand it. But then...
Yeah. You know, so there's a sports reporter who also happens to be called John Davidson. And
he's taken a lot of flack.
Who has now, like John Lewis gets at Christmas, like the bloke called John Lewis, who's got the same Twitter handle, this guy is getting dogs abuse online, and mostly from people in America who are demanding that he apologises. And he's obviously taking the mick and saying, I'm just a sports reporter, etc. But this, for me, the BBC is one aspect of it, but it just shows you the kind of woke race ideology of these people, where they will look at someone who's got Tourette's, who's said the N-word, and then they'll come out and go like, he needs to apologise, it's come from a place of racism.
Wasn't that Jamie Foxx?
Yeah, who's clearly an idiot.
Yeah.
So the left are very tolerant, the tolerant left, until something they don't like. Look, that word is abhorrent.
Yeah.
We're all agreed that word should never be broadcast. And if you're two black actors or whatever they were presenting that, of course that's going to be awkward and it could be distressing. It's not John's fault. As you said, he says his mind tells him to say the worst thing that you could possibly say at the wrong time. He has no control.
Apparently, when he met at a royal event, he said, like, down with the monarchy, screw the Queen.
No, what actually happened when he was being awarded his gong, the film starts with this, he goes into the room and he says, F the Queen. He shouts, F the Queen. So, that's true. That's a true fact.
Well,
probably thought he was a member of the Green Party.
Patrick, I spoke to two people that know John, and they reiterate what a lovely, genuine guy he is, and this will really be affecting his mental health. The BBC are the bad guys here. The BBC are the bad guys.
It's heartbreaking that he's had to relive this when it should be a night of triumph.
It also just defeats the whole point of what the film is about. I mean, anyway, right. BAFTA have issued an apology for offensive language that took place and did previously take a duty of care for all attendees, informing them of Davidson's presence. The BBC has issued a statement saying, we apologise that this was not edited out prior to broadcast and it will now be removed from the version on iPlayer. Anyway, right, look, I teased this clip earlier on. I want to play it to you. Skiers have actually been buried up to their necks in snow after a huge avalanche tore down 2 runs today in Chamonix. Have a look at this. Should just say no one's died, right? A 100-metre wide slab sheared off just before midday, thundering down from the slopes above the top of the Floria lift in the La Flagare ski area. You can tell I'm fluent. Sending shockwaves through the mountain. 3 people were almost completely buried, but they were pulled to safety and are out of danger. Right, thank you very much, our wonderful panel. We have got a lot to get stuck into on the front page, including the fact that NHS spending has doubled in 17 years and it's had no impact on the national health, so we'll talk about that.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mild night tonight and still pretty mild tomorrow, though not quite the same numbers that we've seen today. A dry start for many tomorrow, but there is more rain on the way. This low pressure system has been moving through. It's got a cold front associated with it, but it's a fairly feeble and weak cold front, just bringing a few spots of rain here and there, but quite a bit of cloud across central parts of England. A few showers will keep going through the night across southern Scotland and some for a time across Northern Ireland, but it does turn a bit dry here through the early hours. Largely dry and clear across eastern parts of England, and as I said, temperatures holding up. A mild night, 9 or 10 Celsius to start Thursday for most. Now, most will also start Thursday dry, but predominantly cloudy, and there will be some further outbreaks of rain across parts of northern and western Scotland. The rain's going to pep up through the day across western Scotland too, as it will also for Northern Ireland. Generally a dry start here. The odd shower over northern England and Wales, but again, most places starting dry. Some brightness in eastern England, and it's the southeast which is most likely to have a dry day tomorrow. But elsewhere, the rain moves in, so it turns damp across Northern Ireland through the morning. Western Scotland turning pretty soggy too, and then that rain trickles into northwest England, West Wales, southwest England by lunchtime. Eventually, we'll see some rain getting to the east of the Pennines and across the Midlands. As I said, the southeast generally stays Dry but cloudy then today, not as warm, but still 13, 14 is above average. The wind's quite noticeable, quite a gusty breeze blowing everywhere during Thursday, and still quite lively gusts of wind likely on Friday. Low pressure, you can see the circulation there moving across the country. Some uncertainty about the exact distribution of the rain, but could be a wet day for some. Again, though, still quite mild in the south, especially if we see any sunny spells, but it is turning a touch cooler once more across the far north. Goodbye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, really eclectic mix on the front pages for tomorrow. Just saying not. They're saying that we shouldn't give the French any more money because they're not stopping the boats, which I think is fair enough as well. We're also going to be talking about the fact that the NHS expenditure has apparently doubled in 17 years, and it has had no impact, no improvement on our national health. So we need to talk about that. And what is going on with the Met Police? You go to them with information about a source, and they tell the person they arrest that you're the one who's told them. I mean, come on.
It's the final week to see how you could win £30,000 in tax-free cash. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from. But you have to hurry because time is ticking.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable. What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Here's what's all over tomorrow's newspaper front pages.
I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility.
Absolutely catastrophic scandal for the Metropolitan Police. They now apologise to Speaker Lindsay Hoyle because they told Peter Mandelson that he was the source of the claim about him trying to flee the country. What hope does that give you? You go to the Met Police with information about someone like a gang member or something, and then they just say to the gang member, oh, by the way, James, who lives at number 42, he's told us that you've got some big plans. I mean, honestly, ridiculous. Also tonight... Well, it's more bad drama for Starmer because GBNews exclusive has revealed that 600 illegal migrants crossed the English Channel today. First bit of good weather they had in a while, off they pop, straight over to the border. The Channel's busiest day of the year so far, and as you're seeing on the front of the Daily Express, just say no. They're saying we're due to give the French the next round of payments when it comes to them to not stop the boats, basically, and now they're being urged not to do that. And...
Bam, bam, Iran. Bam, 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 Iran.
Well, shock horror, the US has moved its entire military to within striking distance of Iran, and now Iran is claiming that the nuclear deal is within reach so they could avoid getting bombed by President Trump. And...
investing in our NHS, hospital waiting lists have fallen.
Well, it turned out they'd fudged the numbers on those hospital waiting lists, but a more important story tonight is this. A former health minister has admitted that NHS spending has doubled in 17 years, and crucially, it's had no impact on the nation's health. So well done, everybody, and...
We have a process going through Parliament in relation to the treaty. We will bring that back to Parliament at the appropriate time. We are pausing for discussions with our American counterparts.
Oh, my gosh, honestly, between him and David Lammy, how have we ended up here? The government is in complete disarray. So that minister there, who, by the way, happens to be the son of a Labour peer, and I can't for the life of me think how he got a job, but anyway, he said that they'd paused the Chagos deal, and now the Foreign Office has come out and said, oh, no, sorry, we haven't actually paused it. So we're going to be talking about all that and more. Joining us this evening is the director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We've got journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov and comedian and GB News contributor Steve N. Allen. But first, let's get your news with Sam Francis.
Patrick, thank you, and a very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 11. The Met Police has apologised to the Speaker of the House of Commons after revealing he was the source of information linked to Lord Peter Mandelson's arrest. Sir Lindsay Hoyle told MPs he had shared the information with officers in good faith after hearing concerns the former minister could be preparing to leave the country.
To prevent any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media.
Well, Lord Mandelson was arrested on Monday on suspicion of misconduct in public office and later released on bail. His lawyers say claims he planned to leave the UK are baseless, and he continues to deny any wrongdoing. Police say it would be inappropriate to comment further while the investigation is ongoing. Nearly 600 migrants have crossed the English Channel today, marking the largest single-day total so far this year. Provisional figures show 590 people were taken to Ramsgate by Border Force and lifeboat crews, with the final arrivals coming in shortly after 4:30 this afternoon. Well, with calm conditions expected to continue, patrols remain on alert for any further crossings throughout this evening. Well, let's just bring you an update on news emerging in the United States this evening. They are demanding an immediate investigation after 4 people were shot dead, 6 others left wounded, after a speedboat registered in the United States in Florida was intercepted by Cuban border guards in Cuban waters. Cuban authorities claim the vessel opened fire on a patrol boat sent to identify it, injuring the commander before guards returned fire. The Cuban Interior Ministry described the 4 killed as aggressors, with those injured evacuated and treated. There's been no immediate confirmation of the nationalities of those on board, but US officials have yet to comment as the fallout continues. Well, speaking of comment from US officials, we have just heard from J.D. Vance in the United States, giving the first reaction to this breaking news.
We don't know a whole lot of details, and so I'll defer to the White House to provide more updates as we get them. Certainly, a situation that we're monitoring. Hopefully, it's not as bad as we fear it could be, but can't say more because I just don't know more.
And the Home Office has been given the green light to challenge a High Court ruling that found the decision to ban Palestine Action was unlawful. The group was banned under the Terrorism Act last year, making it a criminal offence to belong or to support it, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. But 3 judges ruled earlier this month that the prescription was disproportionate and quashed the decision. Ministers say they are pleased they can now take that case to the Court of Appeal. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from the newsroom, 9:30 tomorrow morning. Now, though, it's over to Late Edition.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Let's get you all of Thursday's newspaper front pages, starting with The Independent. Speaker Lindsay Hoyle tipped off police that Mandelson was a flight risk. It's an absolutely catastrophic story for the Met Police, this, that they appear to have revealed their source to the man that they've arrested. In this case, it was Peter Mandelson. What hope does that give anyone out there who wants to go to the Metropolitan Police about anything? The Metro, they've got the front page of high rollers on the one that's on your screen there. However, they must have changed their front page because the one that I'm looking at says hunted and executed, shotgun brute, jailed for 19 years after blasting an old workmate. So sometimes they do this, they change their front pages. We'll get to the bottom of that. The iPaper, Reeves, Andrew must pay back any misused taxpayer money. Now, this is because Andrew, well, I mean, all of it really, but in part because there were some allegations that Andrew had used taxpayers' money for massages and excessive travel costs whilst working unpaid as Britain's trade envoy. The Daily Express, just say no. Don't reward the French for boat failure. We're due to give the French another round of payments. We've given them 700 million quid so far to not stop the boat. 600 people crossed today. The Telegraph, doubling cash for NHS has had no impact. Just what it says on the tin, really. 17 years it's taken for us to double the amount of money that we are giving to the NHS, and it has apparently had absolutely no impact on the public health. And this is another bad story when it comes to health. The Guardian leading with damning report exposes scandal of NHS maternity unit cover-ups. Hospitals that cause harm and injury to women and babies during childbirth often resort to a cover-up of their mistakes, falsify medical records and deny bereaved parents answers, a damning report has found. And you know what else they do? They usually try to claim that the doctors were tired. The doctors were overtired because of staff shortages and a lack of resources. And that's why the mistake was made. And if you compare that to the paper that we just showed you before, which is the revelation that doubling the amount of cash the NHS had no impact, you realise what absolute baloney that is. The Daily Mail. Is the Prince of Darkness up to his old tricks? And this is their take on the Peter Mandelson story, which is that Lindsay Hoyle was tipped off the police. Scotland Yard made an extraordinary apology to the Common Speaker. And Mandelson's lawyers hit back with an extraordinary public statement demanding evidence of this. The Times, Epstein used UK as a hub to traffic scores of women. And The Sun, BAFTA row John blamed the BBC. This is, of course, the man with Tourette who used a racial slur at the BAFTAs, has now said the BBC should have edited it out, which they obviously should have done. They also shouldn't have sat him next to a microphone either. Anyway, let's start with what's on the front of the Daily Express, which is that as more than 600 illegal migrants cross the Channel today, MPs call for an end to the payments to France. So the 700 million quid so far, Mark, and there was another story that emerged today that they've stopped less than 2/3 of the boats. And even that figure, by the way, can I just say, is so dodgy, because how do you quantify, the people we've stopped? Well, then they get on another boat, don't they?
Yeah, no, exactly right. I've been saying this about the payments to the French. What should lead to us turning off the taps? Right? I mean, this seems to be, we'll pay you for this and we hope that you use your best endeavours. They're not sufficiently incentivised. We've got to have a better system if we're going to pay them anything of payment by clear results. And something along the lines of, it would be a more sophisticated algorithm than this, but if there's any day in which more than 600 or more people cross, or any week in which, X hundred people cross, you don't get a bean. If the numbers start to, fall, or we've got clear evidence from all the boats that you've stopped 90% of them, we'll pay you a certain amount. It's got to be payment by results. And this, is, I'm afraid, is just a handout and a goodwill gesture, and the French are not sufficiently incentivised, are they?
No, and indeed, Steve, there was one bloke who we deported under the one-in, one-out scheme who came back across the channel. So the French aren't exactly forensic when it comes to this stuff.
No, that's true. And that's you're right about this stop less than two-thirds. Actually, it's just delayed, isn't it? You know, at some point they'll try again and still get in. So the absolute figure will be the same one. It's just there's a slight delay in getting them into our system, which is also a bigger delay. So it's wasted money. And it's understandable there's no incentive, because during that time when the Rwanda deal we heard in the news was causing people to try and head to the border with Ireland. Do you remember that weird week worth of news where people were trying to get out
because
of the UK?
Because of Rwanda, yeah.
Because of that. And to be fair, we all weren't going, no, stop them, please, because that's just the nature of this, isn't it? If a problem is about to head away from your border, you kind of don't care too much. So, of course, I know the cliché of the French just shrugging their shoulders and just saying, like, mais oui, or something. That's exactly what they're doing. There were stories about the money being spent on, like, microwaves for them to just sit there and watch the... they get their packed lunch while they're watching the boats.
The French have got the resources to issue travel bans to blokes who want to go over there and report on what's going on the beaches, British people who have been served... essentially cease and desist orders by the French government, handed to them by British police in our country, in their own homes. The French police have the resources and the capacity to stop someone who wants to live stream some content on YouTube from going over there, but they don't have the capacity to stop the illegal migrants. I find it astonishing. And Nina, there's a story I'll tell here, which is I think it was the first time I was in Calais. There was a bloke in this woodland area where they live, but it was before they go and try and get the boats, who was emptying out a shoe of water because he'd tried and failed like moments earlier to get a boat, and he was just emptying his shoe out and waiting for it to dry off, and he was just going to try again tomorrow, and that had happened to him a couple of times. But he'll be here now, like almost definitely this guy will be here. So this figure that they've even stopped a third of them is, I think rubbish, isn't it?
Well, no reason not to believe that they've stopped a third. I mean, they're not all here. They can't all be here. I mean, but the trouble is that there are laws in France that prevent the police from doing certain things, like, for instance, going into the water to get to the boat. Now, last summer, we were told that they were going to change the law and allow the police to go there in and actually stop the boats once they were in the water. But that apparently they've gone back on that now. It may not be the French fault, but it may be the local police who say it's too dangerous to go into the water with knives to, pierce the boat and stop the... It's not straightforward. I don't think it's straightforward that the French are just going...
No, but Steve's right on it's all about incentives, isn't it? I mean, look, the truth of the matter is, if the French are half rational, and they're probably a bit more rational than that, they're basically quite happy for these people to leave Calais and to end up in Dover. I mean, that's a good outcome for them.
The French take far more than we do.
Why are we giving them money?
But their starting point is surely, if all of these people left France and made it into the United Kingdom, that would be quite a good result for France. That's their starting point, right? We've just got to be clear what the incentives are here. Now, all right, they'll generally try to abide by the rule of law and the rest of it, but the idea that the great priority of the French police force is to stop these people leaving France and crossing the English Channel, you've got to be joking. So I don't think any sort of deal really is likely to be that effective. If you're going to pay them any money at all, be very clear it's by results. But our interests are not aligned, are they?
But then what do we do? OK, so we say to the French, we're not paying you the money, and the French say, fine, OK, we're not going to patrol the beaches anymore. That's the end of it. Well, then what happens?
Well, you've got to stop the magnet effect here.
No, but then you say that, and that's all very well, yeah. But you say that, so the French police are standing there going, nothing to do with us, we're not being paid any money for it, and so they just...
That's basically what's happening.
There's got to be some...
I think what Mark's saying is that if they know that they're not going to get a house and a load of money and all of that, then they might not... And
your asylum claim will not be listened to if you arrive illegally.
Yes, that's all very well, but they will still come. Well, because
not really. If you look at some of the clever ways to do this, albeit in different environments, the Australians had a huge problem here. And Tony Abbott said, right, we're going to turn around the boats. We're not going to entertain anybody from Indonesia who lands in Australia for any claim whatsoever. He was shouted at for being a racist and extremist and all the rest of it. The problem was solved in a fortnight.
And no one's reversed it.
And no one has reversed it since. The real solution here is to stop the pull factor, right? People are going to risk life and limb to get here if there are goodies upon arrival. If you remove those, word gets out pretty quick. Well, it has to be a pretty hostile environment that you're turning up to, not a welcoming one.
What about, can we just say, what about genuine refugees? Because there are genuine refugees.
Well,
what do
do not arrive here illegally.
Well, it just...
And you don't come from a safe haven.
How else do they get here?
Safe.
Well, why don't we have processing...
France is safe.
But why don't we have...
President Macron is not killing them.
No, but they may well only speak English. They may not speak French.
That's not our problem.
So what, you know, so what, they may have family here.
Well, that's not too bad.
French
that
is not
doesn't
that
get you
difficult
in.
to learn as well. I seem to remember GCSE was doable in a couple of years.
Well, you're fluent.
Well, we.
And...
Peut-être.
No idea what you just said.
So, but this contrast here. So, you got the Daily Express's front page today. Just say no, don't reward the French for more boats failures. 700 million quid down the drain so far. Presumably, a few hundred million more. Yeah, we've got the highest tax burden since World War II. People are feeling absolutely economically rinsed. We have got a 45% reduction in graduate jobs on offer at the moment. People are going to places like Dubai.
That's not to do with migrants.
All of that stuff. You know, but the point is, we're paying for this stuff.
You can't say on one hand that the people who are coming on boats are not going to be doctors and have any kind of intellectual employment.
You know, it's about the tax burden. Because they're not doctors and engineers,
they're going to be taking graduate jobs.
Because they're not doctors and engineers, we are having to pay for them. Right, and that means that people are being taxed more.
Why would we pay
and
for
that
them
means
if
that
they
people,
could work in the fields?
That means that people, therefore, are being taxed more. Businesses are less likely to employ people, and there are fewer jobs on offer. So the brain drain means that bright, young, intelligent British people go to other countries like Australia and Dubai.
Yeah, and I suppose the maths that you'd look at to work out what the problem is GDP per capita, isn't it? Because, sure, some doctors, some scientists, some engineers, but if you work out en masse whether that's how it's impacting GDP per capita, then you work out whether there are enough doctors to outweigh the people who are a drain to society.
But the thing is...
Has that number gone up and down?
As I said on the earlier show, that we also need people who work in agriculture, because...
all of those things are legal migrants.
Yeah, that's legal migration.
We are, but not necessarily all of that.
If you're a brain surgeon, you don't get on a dinghy from Calais.
But
you apply for a normal route.
But then if you can work, say, in agriculture and you come in our boat, why can't...
We've got enough people in this country, Nina. We've got enough people in this country at the moment that can fill all the jobs.
I know, but they're lazy. They're sitting on their bottoms and they're not doing it.
But the answer to it is
a terrible way to talk about migrants, Nina.
No, I'm not talking about the British sitting on their bottoms on the sofas.
But the way to do it is you make sure you have a legal system.
Exactly, you have a legal system. I mean, we can argue about whether the state should allow, I don't know, 20,000 fruit pickers in a year or something. There's 20,000 licences to pick strawberries, for sake of argument. Fine, you make those available and people apply for them. It's like applying for a green card. It's nothing to do with getting on a dinghy to do this.
There's a bit of Boston in the UK, which looks like Bulgaria, because of all of the fruit pickers.
Because the people in Boston won't do it themselves.
Well, a lot of the people from Boston have actually left as well, as in terms of young people, because they think there's better opportunities for them elsewhere.
And there's opportunities in the fields, and why don't they start with that?
The big problem we've got, which goes to Steve's point about GDP per capita, is that if you are in a low-paid job, so even if you're diligent, working, perhaps, giving virtually every hour God gives to pick strawberries, unfortunately, you're probably still a burden on the UK state, because if you are earning a very modest wage, I don't know, £10,000, £12,000 a year, something like that, even if you're working hard, you are going to be topped up by welfare. You are protected by the National Health Service. You are using our roads. Potentially your kids go to our schools, and you are not paying your chunk towards that proportionately. So we've got a problem here. Now, ultimately, the solution might be that the salary we pay to fruit pickers needs to rise, and that the cost of a box of strawberries in our supermarkets will rise alongside it. But if we let in loads of people, however well-intentioned they are, and I don't think these are generally the people on the boats, who are doing low-skilled work, the burden on the economy and the taxpayer is high, because you need to be a high earner in order to be a net contributor.
Talking of the burden on the taxpayer, the story that I'm very keen to get stuck into is in relation to the NHS, and this is a little flavour of it.
Investing in our NHS, hospital waiting lists have fallen.
Investing in our NHS and hospital waiting lists are down. Well, it turned out they fudged the numbers on hospital waiting lists. But let me just tell you, by investing in our NHS, the NHS, despite the NHS spending doubling, it's had no impact on national health. No impact. So we'll talk about why that is next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome to our studio, Amelia Foster, Sienna Ansell and Lottie Gray.
He was. 1, 2, 3. He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was the top man at his craft. And then his number came up and he was...
Absolutely wonderful. Oh, my God. Come and join us over here, ladies. So right.
Who's who?
Yes.
You are?
Lottie.
Lottie and?
Sienna. Amelia.
Lovely seeing you.
I'm going to be terribly rude and ask how old you are, because you're all very young.
I'm 13.
13.
15. 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your voice is stunning, 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 stunning.
And what do you feel about singing songs from another era?
We love it. There's something so wholesome and special about the music, the outfits, the costumes, everything. We really enjoy it.
And our parents, our grandparents would have remembered the war and they would have remembered these songs. But this is carried on to a new generation today.
We love, because we have shared a lot of our music on social media. We've, got millions of views and things, and that it's incredible to us. But I think we love that we can share older music with the younger generation, but also connect with the older generation. I think it's amazing that we can do that through music.
And I think it's definitely important to keep the music alive, so everybody remembers, especially in the war, the people that fought in the war and the remembrance. It's very special.
How did you get together? How did all this start?
For the 80th anniversary of VE Day at Ripon Cathedral, there was a performance. They needed a trio to sing a few songs. We got together. We really didn't think much of it.
So you weren't a trio before that?
No.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. There's two catastrophic health-related stories that are on the front pages tomorrow. Starting with the Daily Telegraph, it's emerged that we have doubled NHS spending in the last 17 years, and it has had, quote, no impact on public health. So that's the Telegraph. Lord Bethell, a Conservative minister under Boris Johnson, said Britain was facing a social, moral and economic disaster because of billions of pounds being wasted. Doubling the spending in 17 years from 100 billion to 200 billion has had no impact on the nation's health. In fact, outcomes are getting worse for many and life expectancy is flatlining. And if we just combine that with what's on the front of The Guardian, damning report exposes scandal of NHS maternity unit cover-ups, which include hospitals when women or babies are harmed or die during childbirth. There is a cover-up, they falsify medical records and they deny the bereaved parents answers, and there's negligent care. So let's start with the Telegraph first. I mean, Steve, so doubling the money and getting, if anything, worse results.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you see the headline, you think, OK, there's got to be some underlying factors in there as well. And it's probably true that we are all getting, you know, more big fatties and other things like that. So we're not as healthy. Basically, I'm trying to say the NHS has got a bit of an uphill battle anyway. But then when you actually look at some of the details, and yeah, sure enough, big chunks of this money just go on pay rises, on sorting out the fact that they ran Windows XP for a while and were hacked. I mean, that was a big cost.
Oh.
There are so many things that have spent money without it getting anywhere near a patient. So, of course, you're not going to get better health outcomes. So I think both are true at the same time. We've got these underlying things where we just cram the crisps into our face, and that's not going to be easy for the NHS to deal with. But everyone used to talk about the efficiencies, and we've done the opposite. Somehow we've managed to find ways of making the inefficient NHS less efficient.
The argument for not reforming, like doing, for want of a better phrase, open heart surgery on the NHS is that, quotes, Mark, it's the envy of the world.
Yeah, although you hear that phrase rather less frequently now.
Yeah.
Every time I see a story about the NHS screwing up, I just put it up on social media with envy of the world, ? And we just live, I mean, I wish we could have a proper debate about healthcare reform. It seems that's impossible. That all of the political argument is the NHS has been starved of cash. You know, the brutal austerity of recent years. Doubled. I mean, the amount of money being poured into this is absolutely colossal.
It's more than the GDP of Portugal.
Yeah, it's absolutely extraordinary. It's always described NHS spending as investment. Rarely is it investment. Building a new hospital is investment. Increasing pay for nurses might be a nice thing to do, but it's consumption, not investment. And the results and the outcomes compared to countries similar to ours are, I'm afraid, shocking. What you should be looking at, if you're comparing healthcare systems, is if you are afflicted by X or diagnosed by Y, with Y, what's your chance of being alive 1 year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, if you have a heart attack, for sake of argument, or have a stroke, or are diagnosed with particular forms of cancer? The UK is appallingly bad for this. And as soon as you try and have an argument about it, everybody says, but we don't want to be like the Americans, where you kind of die if you haven't got a gold, credit card. The American system is pretty horrific too. But everywhere else in Europe has managed to find some sort of system that provides universal healthcare, almost always free at the point of use, with enormously better results than the NHS. So might it be a good idea that we abandon this as our national religion and actually have a proper argument about what we might learn from what other European countries are practising?
Well, you use the phrase national religion, and it is. I don't like calling it our NHS. It's the NHS. Yeah. They held a church service for the NHS on the anniversary of it, which is just ridiculous. I mean, literally, you have people walking down to the altar with candles. So, like to basically pray for the NHS or to the NHS, I think. I mean, Nina, if this is a sacred cow, it needs to be slaughtered, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and the thing is that longevity, it hasn't changed since 2009. It's still 79 for men on average and 83 for women. So I've got a little bit to go, a little bit.
You've got decades, Nina.
Well, you never know. I'm just so bloody minded. I might well take you up
good
on
for
that.
you. Good for you.
No, well, as I see it, what you referred to as people sitting on sofas and stuffing their faces with crisps, we are an incredibly unhealthy nation. We don't have a proper cuisine handed down to us in generations like the French or the Italians, where you can eat cheaply and healthily, without health problems. We're not like the Scandinavian countries who are super healthy because we eat badly. We don't exercise. We don't. So what we need is preventative medicine.
Well,
we're putting a sticking plaster on a broken leg, metaphorically speaking.
On the other hand, I don't know if consumption of crisps has gone up enormously over the past 20 years.
That Gary Lineker, man.
I'll
tell you, the worst thing he's ever done.
I'll tell you what should be a following win for the National Health Service. Smoking rates have plummeted in the last 20 years. So they should be saving a fortune on emphysema and lung cancer. Alcohol consumption has gone down over the last 15 or 20 years. They should be saving a fortune on that.
It's so boring, they don't drink.
But they should be saving an absolute mint on that.
It's bringing the Guardian, because actually the elephant in the room here really, is wasting of money in the NHS. So if the NHS go to tender on something like they need a load of new light bulbs, the contractors can just charge them like 3 times as much as they would for anything else because it's public money. But the other elephant in the room is incompetent care. And there will be people watching this right now who work in the NHS, who have relatives who work in the NHS, and I'm not trying to slag you off, right? But what I am saying is you read stories like this, damning report exposes scandal of NHS maternity unit cover-ups. And this is what gets on my wick every time you see those entitled junior doctors out there on the picket lines, already earning way more than hospital porters and hospital receptionists and nurses and all of this stuff. And you see stories like this, when a baby or a woman dies or is in some way disabled or hurt during childbirth, during the maternity process, there's been a culture to cover it up, to falsify medical records and to deny bereaved parents answers. Negligent care. I mean, it's absolutely shocking, this.
It's the point you made earlier about it being a religion. When institutions are so large, the problem of cover-up becomes real. And when you're told, when you genuinely believe that the place you work for is not just a job, it's such an integral part of the UK, it is the religion, then you find that you think your ends justified the means. The only other problem is, though, that when you know that an organisation gets to a size when cover-up is going to be a problem, what you actually need to do is institute some sort of rules. And we don't do that well, so you'll spend more money in it to put people in there to make sure this kind of thing never happens. Somehow they won't do that, and there'll just be another 15 people employed to do nothing.
Yeah.
And, well, it is, I'm afraid, becomes the nature of the beast in massive nationalised monopolies. By and large, it's not completely the case, right? You can switch doctors if you're unhappy with your GP, but more or less, most people are caught in the system and have to wait their turn. There aren't competitive pressures. You're not given an option on the NHS of, which of these 10 people would you like to carry out your hip replacement operation. And I think you even notice it at a kind of, anecdote alert here, at a small level, where it seems to be that the system is run at least as much for the producers as for the patients. Today, I went to pick up a repeat prescription from a pharmacy. I'm asthmatic, so I take I take a regular drug to help me smoke. It'd be very difficult to smoke without it. And I just, without kind of complaining, I just pointed out that the message I received on text to pick up my prescription was, "Dear Miss Littlewood, thanks," from the NHS.
Oh.
Your prescription. So I just sort of said, there seems to be some sort of problem with your messaging system here,
Just thank you.
derive, by all means, send me thanks morning, noon and night. But I guessed that you were trying to send me information that my prescription did, and indeed they were. Nobody give a damn that their system didn't work to inform me. No. Couldn't have cared less about it.
You talk waste. I have a slight condition that it doesn't cause me any problems at all, and it's checked up annually, and it happens to be October. So I went in October, and they said, everything fine, no worry, we'll check you again on October 26th. So the letter comes and says, October 26th, Tuesday, whatever, 10:30. I have had 3 letters since then. Yeah. I'm sorry we've had to change your appointment. Yeah. One is to the following day at 10:30. Then I had another one that said, sorry, back to the original day at 10:30, and now it's the original day at 10:40. And this is for October.
Imagine if
remarkable.
Imagine if in addition to the National Health Service, we had a National Restaurant Service. Imagine what it would be like to try and book a table. Absolutely impossible.
Well, we're all doing anecdotes then. So I've got an appointment in April from some jaw problem that I've got, which I checked out years ago. They cancelled the follow-up, and I thought, well, it's not that bad. And they booked me in so many years in advance, I forgot it was even coming. But it's this year in April. But the thing that gets me is the letter says, we're looking forward to seeing you. Don't make it like that. Just tell me I've got an appointment. Don't be like, I want to catch up. What have you been up to? I don't know, suffering,
We need to celebrate that, though, when it happens. You've waited years for it, right? We need to, go with a brass band and, confetti cannons and stuff. He's had his appointment.
He's still alive.
He's still alive.
This is a problem you picked up in childhood, presumably.
It's taken a while.
OK, all right. Well, look, coming up in just a moment's time, we've got a bit of this.
I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility.
It's on the front page of the Daily Mail and the Independent, this extraordinary story. The Metropolitan Police have had to apologise to Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, because they told Peter Mandelson that he was the source of their claim that he was about to flee the country. I mean, you thought that the Met couldn't get any worse. There we go.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mild night tonight and still pretty mild tomorrow, though not quite the same numbers that we've seen today. Dry start for many tomorrow, but there is more rain on the way. This low pressure system has been moving through. It's got a cold front associated with it, but it's a fairly feeble and weak cold front, just bringing a few spots of rain here and there, but quite a bit of cloud across central parts of England. A few showers will keep going through the night across southern Scotland and some for a time across Northern Ireland, but it does turn a bit dry here through the early hours. Largely dry and clear across eastern parts of England, and as I said, temperatures holding up, a mild night, 9 or 10 Celsius to start Thursday for most. Now, most will also start Thursday dry, but predominantly cloudy, and there will be some further outbreaks of rain across parts of northern and western Scotland. The rain's going to pep up through the day across western Scotland too, as it will also for Northern Ireland. Generally a dry start here. The odd shower over northern England and Wales, but again, most places starting dry. Some brightness in eastern England, and it's the southeast which is most likely to have a dry day tomorrow. But elsewhere, the rain moves in, so it turns damp across Northern Ireland through the morning. Western Scotland's turning pretty soggy too, and then that rain trickles into northwest England, West Wales, southwest England by lunchtime. Eventually, we'll see some rain getting to the east of the Pennines and across the Midlands. As I said, the southeast generally staying dry, but cloudier than today. Not as warm, but still 13, 14 is above average. The wind's quite noticeable, quite a gusty breeze blowing everywhere during Thursday, and still quite lively gusts of wind likely on Friday. Low pressure, you can see the circulation there moving across the country. Some uncertainty about the exact distribution of the rain, but could be a wet day for some. Again, though, still quite mild in the south, especially if we see any sunny spells. But it is turning a touch cooler once more across the far north. Goodbye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Late Edition. On the front of two newspapers, we've got the Peter Mandelson story and this astonishing mess-up by the Metropolitan Police. But before we get to that, Bev Turner's got the Late Show live for you, midnight until 2 a.m. Bev, what's on the show this evening?
Very good evening, Patrick. We are going to be looking at the small boats crisis as well in the UK, comparing it to here in America, of course. They've absolutely fixed, like, not just fixed it, but they did it within 5 minutes, it seems. Trump got in the White House, and he brought illegal migration on the southern border down to 0. So it is so frustrating when we see the headlines like we've got in the UK tonight. We're going to ask our American guests, what can we do that you're doing here? We're going to be also looking at this situation in Cuba. I know you've touched on it, this boat with American passengers on it. We don't know anything about it yet. We're trying to work out what's happened there. Those American people have been killed on that particular boat. We're also going to be discussing that BAFTA's story with the Tourette's guy, Patrick, as well. I mean, I feel like you about this. The poor guy did nothing wrong, and everybody's enormous overreaction must be making him feel terrible. And can I also just say, we have loved your show this evening, Janice and I in makeup. We have you on a very big screen, and we've been laughing out loud, actually, for some of the evening. Not that you were necessarily trying to be funny.
Oh, thank you. I think, Bev, you know, I'll take any kind of ripple of laughter I can possibly get. So there we go. But well,
really enjoyable.
I'm sure. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm sure it'll be a great show anyway, and I will make sure to chuckle along here as well. Bev Turner there with the Late Show Live midnight until 2 a.m. Now. This is in a way a laughing matter, but, like, not really. It's how incompetent the Metropolitan Police are. So they arrested Peter Mandelson, whatever it was now, last week. All rolls into one, doesn't it? And it's on the front of the Mail and the Independent, this. So they arrested Peter Mandelson, and they arrested him, apparently, in part because they thought he was going to be a flight risk. And he said, this is preposterous. I'm not a flight risk. I've got no desires to evade this particular issue. And then the Metropolitan Police appeared to have told him, well, the reason we think you're a flight risk is because the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, told us you were a flight risk. So, Mark, if you go to the Met Police now and you say, I've got information on this gang member who stands outside my house every single night, dealing drugs and stabbing people to death, they then tell that gang member, do they? Oh, well, actually, it's Mark who's told us, and he lives here.
Lindsay Hoyle must be furious. I mean, I think it's a bit weird that he said he acted in good faith. I mean, presumably, it doesn't really matter what his faith is. He had a certain amount of information. It was right for him to share that if he believed it was in any way relevant to this particular police investigation or indeed any other. But, I mean, it just gets boring now, doesn't it? I mean, their heads have got a roll in these organisations when mistakes like this are made. I want to know which officer passed on this information to Peter Mandelson's lawyers, and that person should be sacked.
You should ask them, they'll probably tell you. How good they are at keeping a secret.
Yeah, if you've got any information, pass it on. But it is, you're right, it is it is disastrous. And, you know, we're told that we can't have a kind of political investigation into this Mandelson scandal because the police need to, you know, privately get on with their work. Well, they're leaking like a goddamn sieve. I mean, so is actually the way this is going to happen is that we'll find out chunks of it as and when the incompetent Met Police let slip some of the key details. We've all been told not to talk about it in case it endangers any future court case. Look at these absolute muppets. It's appalling.
And you can be sure that Mishcon de Reya will be using this. Of course. And as you said, that's what I was saying, is this the Prince of Darkness up to his usual spin tricks? Because that gives him... You know, he's all been on the back foot, and now this gives me... Oh, hang on a minute.
You're dealing with a very wily old fox here in the shape of Peter Mandelson. I mean, you know, he doesn't get the nickname the Prince of Darkness for nothing. And to give him anything, you know, this is the thing. I don't know how you feel about it, Steve. I just find it absolutely ludicrous that, you know, if you tip the police off about something now, they'll just tell the person... that you said it to them.
It's like, what's the old, on BT when you used to have to, like, dial 141 to protect your number? Remember that if you're calling Crime Stoppers. That's the only thing I'll say these days, because they'll probably just pass on your number. That's how tight they are. I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? You're right, known as the Prince of Darkness, also had to resign in shame twice and came back. So you kind of know what you're dealing with. But I actually think in this story, the Met Police look terrible. Lindsay Hoyle actually comes OK out of this, doesn't he? Like, you know, he got the information, passed it on, did the right thing. Rumours that he might have been, that Mandelson might have been heading to the British Virgin Isles, which is, in many ways, the total opposite to Epstein Island. Just theoretically, isn't it? You know, it's like Easter Island and Christmas Island.
Must have been an enormous draw for Epstein, actually. That's what he was looking for.
Well, there we go. Right now, I am just going to remind everyone, in case we've forgotten, that Peter Mandelson has not been charged with anything. He's also not responded to previous requests for comment from us here at GB News, but we do understand that prior to his arrest, his position was that he'd not acted criminally and he did not act for personal gain. He denies that he was planning to flee the country. Certainly not been found guilty of anything. Like I said, he's not been charged with anything, and everyone is innocent until proven otherwise. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, when trusting the Metropolitan Police is at rock bottom, this is just the...
We've got to get rid of the Metropolitan Police. I mean, we don't need to get rid of police.
Hang on.
Defund the police. Defund the police, everybody.
Well, I wouldn't defund. I'd scrap the entire... The Metropolitan Police is now beyond reform. We need to completely reconstruct the policing service in London, quite possibly.
Well, how would you do that? In what aspect? How would you reform that? I mean, how can you reform it?
Well, how can you ever reform the police force? You mean? Well,
I'm saying, what would you do?
I'd get rid of all of the top brass. I'd have much clearer guidance in place. I'd make it much clearer what you would be fired for. I would have more criminal responsibility if oversight failed. I'd have a completely new setup of rules, completely clean broom. The Met Police is an absolute ongoing catastrophe and disaster. Its record in mopping up crime is poor, it is diverting its resources to the wrong things, and it can't run a bath.
Right, but apart from that, obviously they're doing a really great
I was going to
job.
say, how is the bar? Yeah.
Yeah,
Good luck driving home.
Yeah, but don't give up all hope, you know. Anyway, so, look, this was just, like, you know, David Lammy gets a lot of flack, and rightly so. I mean, the guy, I've said before, I think he's so dense, like Ben's around him, but get a load of this.
Have a process going through Parliament in relation to the treaty. We will bring that back to Parliament at the appropriate time. We are pausing for discussions with our American counterparts.
Hamish Faulkner looks like the kind of boy you're at school with who's sat at the back of the class chewing his own sleeve and, like, you know, would use a hand puppet to communicate with people because he couldn't verbalise his thoughts to the teacher. Anyway, now he's in the Foreign Office and the government is in complete disarray because a minister said that the Chagos deal was paused and now the Foreign Office is saying, oh, no, he misspoke, it's not been paused. Absolute chaos. We'll talk about that next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of warm and sunny weather across Europe now. Blustery showers in Cyprus, windy in the Canaries. Those two regions the exception to the mostly dry and settled theme. High pressure across Central Europe, bringing plenty of sunshine through Spain, Portugal, into France. Italy seeing above average temperatures as well, 17 or 18 Celsius widely. But we do have these showers across the Greek islands into Cyprus with some gusty winds.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back. We were going to talk about the Chagos thing, but I've realised that I can't not be really mean about Hamish Faulkner, so it probably get us in trouble. So we decided to do a different story. And it's the I paper, and here to explain it and why he doesn't think Andrew Mountbatten Windsor should pay any money back is Mark Littlewood. doing the unthinkable.
Yeah, this is the unthinkable, isn't it? I would usually praise Rachel Reeves for trying to save the government any money. But look, I've read previous stories about this. It does appear that Andrew's expensive claims, from what we can read in the papers, are absolute, for massages and God knows what else, absolutely egregious. But these claims were signed off by civil servants. These were considered at the time by the people who controlled these budgets to be legitimate expenses that were then paid for by the taxpayer. So I agree that the misused taxpayers' money should be refunded, but I think it should be refunded by the people who signed off the expenses claims. That was the error.
What do you think?
I think this just shows how desperate Rachel Reeves is for money that she wants the 75 quid back. I'm a bon fan, as I believe they probably call it in French.
Give her more fiscal headroom.
That's how desperate things are now. The problem is, though, if we do get the money back from Andrew, he's not got any money. He'll get it from his brother, which he'll get from us. So either way, it'll be the taxpayer that pays for it. It just depends which route you'd like to go for.
See, the civil servants, as I understand it, complained and said, look, why should we have to pay for this? And they were told it came from above that.
Well, that's the person who should pay it back.
Well, that's probably the royals.
Well, it's not, there was a civil. It won't be the king who signed off on the massage.
No, it'll be the royal.
It will be a civil servant in the trade department.
It'll be a part of the royal household.
No, it's the trade department. It's when he was the trade envoy.
Yes, but
can a man not get a massage?
No.
Well, yes.
You know?
But on his own dime, for God's sake, right? On his own dime, surely.
Look,
surely to God.
They said that they complained about these bills, and they said, but we're told from above, which I understand is royal house.
No, I think it's senior civil servant.
Come on, no.
But when you see how he sits in a car, that slouch, no wonder he needs a back rub.
Yeah.
His posture is terrible.
Yeah.
That man needs to sit up properly and get a booster seat.
But that whole deference thing, that deference to, he was allowed to continue in this because he was royal, and then the royals had the cheek, the absolute brass neck to turn on Harry and Meghan. What have they done compared with Andrew, whom they've protected for bloody decades? A sleaze bag like that.
Two things can be wrong, though. It's not like you don't have to have a situation where...
No, but I'm just comparing it.
I think the race for who the worst royal is now truly over. Yeah. That's settled. The jury's in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Harry. I'm joking. I'm all right, Nina. I'm joking.
King Harry and Queen Meghan.
Well, it's actually, if we bring up the front of
me.
the Independent just quickly, the front of the Independent newspaper, because they've got Meghan kicking a football around, visiting Syrian and I believe Gazan children as well in a refugee camp in Jordan. So they've done the full Middle Eastern experience there, and. Yeah, I mean, they were invited by Tedros, the leader of the World Health Organization, apparently. Do you think it's interesting because the timing of it, I think, is fascinating. When you look at, obviously, all the scandals, and then there she is kicking a brawl around with Gazan or Syrian refugees, and it's like,
It's a great time to get PR, because, your actual royals aren't, although not technically actually a royal now, but the actual side of it not looking great. This is a great time to move in. I slightly disagree, though. We don't want King Harry and Queen Meghan. We want King Harry and President Meghan. Let's get these two nations back together. They owe us a lot of back tax. If they paid that,
Just wondering if Andrew's looking at this thinking, I've got a massage in that refugee camp once. But, There we go. Of course, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor denies any and all wrongdoing and is yet to be found guilty of anything. In fact, he's not even been charged of anything, and every single person is innocent until proven guilty, especially Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. Right, OK, let's give you the roundup of all the papers then before we move on. The Independent, Speaker tipped off police Mandelson was a flight risk. There you go, the Daily Mail. Is the Prince of Darkness up to his old tricks? Another Mandelson story. The Daily Telegraph, doubling of the cash for the NHS had no impact on public health. So well done, everybody. The Guardian, damning report exposes the scandal of NHS maternity units cover-ups. The Metro, I've still got no idea what this story is because it says high rollers on that one, but on the copy of the Metro I've got in front of me, it's about an ex-gamekeeper who killed someone. So, you know, I imagine those are different stories. The iPaper, Reeves, Andrew must pay back any misused taxpayers' money. We've just spoken about that. The Daily Express, just say no. Don't reward the French for their boat failure. We shouldn't be having to pay them a penny more to not stop the boats. The Times, Epstein used the UK as a hub to traffic scores of women. The Sun, BAFTA row. John blamed the BBC. The bloke with Tourette's that shouted a racial slur at the BAFTAs has basically said, well, why did they air it? And fair enough. Thank you very much to my wonderful panel. Thank you to everyone who's watched and listened. I'm over to Bev Turner now, stateside for The Late Show Live. Bev.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, tonight on the show, illegal migration. What can we learn from America as we get record numbers coming across the sea? We're going to be also looking at the Chagos deal. I feel like you, Patrick. I have my head in my hands about it, but we've got to source it out. Also, Cuba. What's happened there? Americans are shot dead in a boat. A British citizen under criminal investigation for transphobia in Brazil. Stay with me.
It's the final week to see how you could win £30,000 in tax-free cash. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from. But you have to hurry because time is ticking.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the